All right. Looks like CCP is over. They had a stream. Looks like it was more of a test. I didn't actually catch it. You guys can talk about it if you want. We're going to just lounge around and hang out with each other. So, more Eve talk.
It's a bit of an odd one.
By the way, when Meryl says CCP is over, he means the stream, not like the company.
Jump over. Jump to public too, please. Otherwise, nobody will know who's talking.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't that the aim?
Oh, I think Billy got left up there. Oh well.
That's all right. Sure, he has the capacity to jump in.
Dirk, person I'm always interested in talking to. What's going on?
I don't know. Same thing that was going on
5 minutes ago.
Still saying. Actually, no. Since the last time we actually spoke, my county has been added to the super lockdown list as of EPM.
Oh, welcome to lockdown.
Yeah. Which I'm not really sure exactly what kind of changes. It's not like they arrest you for going out your front door or anything like that, but it's basically one of those things of, don't take your whole damn family shopping with you at the same time.
God, I've seen that a few times.
I have seen that a few times. I saw a family of 4 plus what probably was the grandfather, like walking out of the supermarket.
Leave the grandfather at home. Well,
I'm more worried about the old Catholic ladies at the Catholic church I go to, and I've skipped going for more than 6 weeks now. But God forbid they went and caught it. That's a bit worrying.
I mean, it's just crazy. It's like if you gotta go shop, you would think that you just don't take the kids and or one of the parents stays home. Again, family of 4 plus the old person. And it's like I'm sitting there going,
Not best practice.
Not best practice. Yeah, well, and it was exactly like I was saying to my wife. She said something about this, and I'm like, the majority of people out there aren't going to like they're not going to know the details. They know that their kids are home from school. They know that they've either been laid off, furloughed, or working from home or whatever. They know that the stores they normally go to aren't open, but all the little rules, they don't freaking.
Yeah.
Because like Eve players, because like that majority of Eve players who don't read or listen to anything, they don't know until it happens.
And we complain all the time.
Well,
yeah, you see all the people like running around like completely, bucking the rules. Like that's basically the equivalent of all of the freighters that get ganked in jitter on a burn jitter. Completely oblivious of what's going on.
I'm going to put up a Zoom. How's that? And then, if you guys want to get on.
Our tournament host has been affected by the virus, actually, unfortunately. The up-and-coming tournament in 3 days has had to have a new host because the current host has quite a nasty cough and also fever, and he's unable to host the tournament as a commentator. Nice. But we've got a replacement, thankfully.
Poor guy's going to turn into an undead.
Oh, well, do send your...
best wishes and everything.
Best wishes and consolidations and ISK to DTM.
What's with all these people? I just hate to even think about it. It's licking clean toilets, but licking toilets and licking shampoo bottles. What the fuck?
These are the Tide Pod eaters, man.
What? They're basically they're idiots. They're essentially they're just they're attention-seeking idiots.
The telephone and the internet has brought us closer together, but this doesn't necessarily mean intelligence or people of good moral standing being brought closer together. So things that people might have done privately and never been shared before now is, well, anybody can do it and video it and send to the world.
There are always going to be idiots doing idiot things.
The unfortunate thing is they seem to force it on the rest of us.
Well, in the modern day, the idiots just get way more media coverage than they would otherwise.
We find it amusing. We find it entertaining. Hell, we watch television series about it. We have guilty pleasures of watching the damn television series about it.
It was.
Well, to be fair, it is sort of entertaining.
I was listening in a few minutes ago. Rich, did you say you were rich?
Well, I offered to Plex's account, and I have. And, well, I said read my name, that's what I am, but I'm...
I'm just curious.
Can't you tell from the ridiculous accent?
Of all the things I thought I would talk to Matterall today about, licking toilets wasn't one.
Yeah, I know. Let's take that off the menu. Oh, even worse. Rich, you have that kind of voice where I feel like you could slap me with a glove at any moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Challenge you to a duel.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I did try to plan on more adventurous career paths, but unfortunately, more needy people needed to go down that path, and I had too much of a future.
What path are you on about?
Well...
He's an e-player.
No, not that. Oh, heavens, not that. But
how to do important things.
He talks. Well, Matter was, somebody who could slap him with a glove and challenge him to a duel. Well, maybe not slap him with a glove, but well, as many players do, many of them are ex-military. I attempted to join a military, and I was told, "You got a future. What are you doing here? Come back in 6 months, if you really want to be here."
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah, that ticks me off.
So French Foreign Legion, right?
French Foreign Legion, yes. I try to keep my life interesting. I wouldn't want to be controlled by my wealthy mother.
You have to have like one eye and be like 300 pounds of muscle.
It's not a career the Viscount of Umbridge needs to go into.
Viscount. But no, I don't want to be controlled by my mother and all of her money. So I'm trying to find a way to get away from her as far as possible and choose my own adventure.
Oh. Give all the money away. Job done.
Yeah,
mommy complex.
Last I heard that Viscount was in China.
Sorry. Is this about to become some episode of the Scarlet Pimpernel or something?
Yes.
Well,
just popping over to Sandringham, mommy. Tip top.
Each player has a rather interesting history.
It's just tough.
That's what I love about this game. Everybody's so different and interesting.
I do appreciate Rich wanting to get out of the shadow of his family, just because they've got money. You know, you want to be your own person, right?
Well, I didn't grow up rich. I'm a first-generation immigrant, but hell, I worked in my parents' store when I was 8 and 10 years old, and even beyond that, I worked. That's where I have the security experience because I went to work to take care of the family business through thick and thin.
You don't get that kind of accent from a rough upbringing.
Well, I would just say he's like.
I was raised by an English gentleman. I was raised by an English stepfather, and he certainly taught me etiquette and
slumming it and happy neck.
It wasn't an Italian grocery store or anything, was it?
No, it was a. Oh my god, that's stereotypical. It was a Chinese, a small shop in a Chinatown, or it was meant to be a Chinatown. So yeah, a small Chinese store with imports. Yeah.
What they do in the back? Yeah, with imports.
What they do in the back?
Just kidding. I don't know.
Wow.
Believe me, you do not. Actually, you should know. Milk powder smuggling.
Really? That's
yes. So
you mean a white substance of powder, but it was milk?
No, literal milk powder smuggling. Would you like to hear this?
I'm not sure I would, but if it wasn't nefarious, right?
No, it's perfectly legal.
What's your name and address so I can forward it to the Chinese authorities?
You could do that. The Chinese authorities don't do a damn thing about it.
All I'm picturing right now is he looks like the young guy from The Kingsman.
Well, prior to EVE Online, what I did was Due to various different health scandals in China, particularly with infant formula, people distrusted the domestic product, and what people did was they purchased it here in the UK, and then they shipped it to China, and people would either use it for themselves or they would resell it over there and it was very profitable for the people buying it here and the people selling it in China. And we've had all sorts of things being sent to China. We've actually had dog food sent to China because somebody's dog could only eat the finest quality dog food from England. They wouldn't accept any other dog food in China. So we'd have boxes and boxes and boxes of milk powder. Somewhere there's a picture of me sitting on the throne of milk powder cans, like Walter White sits on the throne of crystal meth.
It's actually a thing you regularly see people come into, especially stores like Boots at a pharmacy, and buying it all up and then exporting it.
Yes, it is. That's why they have a rule that you can only buy 1 can or 2 cans or and such, because the Chinese keep buying it. They also have sent, let's see, chocolate, a baby carrier, health and beauty products, shampoo, that type of stuff, toothpaste. I've seen it being sent at all. People want the Western products. It's a sign of luxury, it's a sign of wealth, and people pay other people to shop for them. In fact, we had one person who was so paranoid about their goods being possibly faked that they asked us to send them a copy of a British newspaper that was bought on the day that it was sent.
I bet you've never seen pot noodle being shipped to China, though.
Do they like pot
No,
noodles?
I haven't.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Did they like Smash?
It's just terrible.
Well, who even eats pot noodles? It's mined from the ground.
Us plebeians, I'm afraid.
Students.
I used to love pot noodles.
I don't mind a pot noodle or two.
I mean, if you know what you're getting into, yeah.
I tell you what, I do like pot noodle. I do like pot noodles. It reminds me of when times were simple. It reminds me of when I was not so wealthy and happy, and I was a child, spending my days on RuneScape in the afternoons.
It's obviously not very long ago.
You have to wrap your head around the fact of having a computer and being young, Eric.
Oh yeah. Yes, I forgot. Everybody here is the fossils, ancient. They've been playing Eve for so many years.
That's not very nice. I'm not 30 yet.
I don't think Rich even understands the idea of a cable phone.
You may not be physically 30.
I got mentally got there a long time ago.
Do you know what dial-up is, Rich?
I do, actually. I still remember that tone. I still remember my friend almost losing all of his items on RuneScape because his mother took a phone call while he was killing dragons.
That's quite funny.
I remember things quite vividly.
What about getting cornered by your own mother because you used the phone to buy Habbo hotel credit?
I actually did. That did actually happen to me.
That happened to me as well. Well, my sister.
Oh
did
my! I
Massive
remember
phone
scamming
bill 'cause she
people
kept
in.
buying it.
I remember scamming people in Habbo Hotel, falling furniture. I remember everything. I remember my friend and we pulled our money together to set up a casino with those number machines.
Well, that's more recent. I was doing it back in the day when there wasn't so fancy machines.
What do you mean recent? This was more than a decade ago. Habbo Hotel is.
They didn't have number machines back in my day.
Oh. Hell. I remember the hotels that were set up, they were so wealthy because they had to have somebody glitch the furniture into each other. That was a different time back then.
Come on, Dirk, Eric, one of you guys need to talk about the Oregon Trail.
Dirk's as old as Dirk, man. In fact, he remembers walking around with a field phone as a mobile.
Oh, what?
One of those field phones. Remember the mobile phones when they first came out? They were about a foot long.
They were about the size of a concrete block.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't have one of those, but my father-in-law did. He also had the car phone where like the receiver was in the center console, but like the giant box was in the trunk.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, one of those car phones where you need a trailer to carry the components.
Well, it was literally a fucking car battery they had built into that.
Yeah.
Question: does anybody? This is probably public, so I'm sure somebody in Twitch might know too. Does anybody know a good like Discord or Slack program that has like video calling?
Discord does it if you do private.
Yeah, you could do
like
video
group?
in like like
Yeah, you can do a private group. Yeah.
Google Hangouts.
Skype?
Where's the other option? So.
No, Hangouts doesn't work anymore. They removed that.
Oh, they've removed it. Oh my god.
I think it's probably Microsoft Teams that it's been put into.
Well, Discord is quite decent unless you need more than 10 people.
Yeah.
But it does voice chats? Or not voice, but video chats?
Yeah, go private and click the video button.
Billy, you can also use Zoom, but if you use a free account on Zoom, you only get 40 minutes max for your...
I think it's like $20 a month. I think it's $20 a month.
Yeah, like I was looking at like Slack and it's like $8 per month per person. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, as I say, you can use Zoom to set up a free meeting, but you only get 40 minutes. So you would have to do it again if you wanted to go longer.
Yeah.
But then you've got Discord, and if you use private messaging or private meeting, you can invite people to that with their video cameras.
Just set up a group.
Current limit is 10, as far as I remember. They were talking about increasing it to 30, and they are looking at something like that, I think.
Yeah, you can also stream to people
has all
from
of
here
this,
as well.
right?
Yeah, it does.
Jesus. Okay, I guess I'm using Discord.
Yeah, just set up a group chat and then you can do a video call to that group.
It's also getting picked up a lot right now by the teachers and stuff because of the Go Live feature being expanded to 50 people, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
What is Discord?
Yeah. The Go Live, you can now be 50 in the call watching the live streamer at once. That means that educators can use it for teaching.
Interesting.
There was also something I remember using with some people in the Discord, and that was jumpin.chat. It was like a chat room which we'd set up our cameras with, and then we just sit in the Discord channel rather than actual Discord private or group call, and that's how we did it.
I've seen a fair few instances on the news with highlighting groups that are doing virtualized sort of community activities, and I'm there thinking to myself like, that looks very familiar. And then I realize it's Zoom.
Well, there's a church in VR chat if you'd like to be baptized in a virtual reality environment.
I was just talking to one of my friends. He's actually ordained and everything, and he's considering doing Discord powered sermons.
That would be amazing, like VR chat, like classrooms.
Well, given
that'd be so strange.
Given the current virus epidemic, it's becoming a close reality.
I know, but like, there's doing a virtualized classroom, and then there's doing a virtualized classroom in VR chat.
The only problem with all this remote church activity is that unless you're a very hardcore Protestant, you can't really fix the whole communion thing.
Yeah.
I did suggest doing something digital, like sending them a cookie or something.
A wafer?
I just don't know, how do you break a cookie?
So freaking Iceland Air canceled Rick Javiks's flight, but they only got a
Got a what?
A credit. Meaning they didn't get a refund. So apparently the flight has been canceled. It's not like they just called up and said, I want to cancel my reservation because of all this, yada, yada, apparently the flight's been canceled, but all they're getting is a 1-year credit, or as of the end of March, 1 year credit.
Like we
did speak about this stuff the other night on your show, Dirk. He spoke about having to cancel flights somewhere, or the company cancelled the flight or hotel, but he has credit to use it at a later date.
Well, yeah, because I guess they could have canceled and gotten a credit, but of course, but then there were some people who were like, okay, wait, maybe they'll cancel the flight and then you should get a refund. And it's like, apparently their flight got canceled and they didn't get a refund. They're just getting.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right. If you call up and cancel it, then credit, offering a credit facility would seem pretty much par for the course. However, if they cancel it, then they should be refunded. I agree.
Yeah. That's kind of messed up.
There's probably going to be a lot of that stuff where people are looking for more clearance from governments and stuff, or clearer instructions from government as to what companies should do.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of that, but there's definitely going to be a fair few airlines that go under as well. Which could be a bit of an awkward thing, because if you've got credit for stuff instead of refunds, and then the company goes under, then you're essentially like, you don't have a refund at all.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up. Well, which brings up Matterall. Are you still there? I guess not. Because based on the earlier conversation, the Corona town hall or whatever that we did earlier, and then we were going and talking Eve, I kind of had like a dovetail thing, which is these other upcoming events that are happening, right? There are still some of these things that are planned out there. I'm really wondering what in the hell, like that Cruisers of Eve cruise is still, it looks like it's still tentatively scheduled for June. Because apparently whoever it is, whatever cruise line or whatever, I guess they had a window where you could get a refund or whatever, but now it's just some sort of credit or something like that, but it's still tentatively scheduled. I'm sitting there going, oh man, I'm pretty sure that Scandinavian cruise isn't happening.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough call, dude. It's one of those ones where if there isn't some sort of normality returning by about July, then you can expect it to be furthered into September area, I would imagine. Many, many things are going to have to be rescheduled or just cancelled outright.
Yeah, I mean, just the ones I like, kind of the ones I know off the top of my head, right? You've got that, which is in June, and I think it's in early June somewhere. I don't know, whatever. You've got Eve New Orleans, which is in late May. It's like Memorial Day weekend here in the United States, late May, and right now, freaking Louisiana is like blowing up. And then you've got Eve Russia, in Moscow, June 13th and 14th. I don't know. I mean, like some of these things, it's like,
yeah,
everything is getting pushed, right?
Public events that have to be resolved.
I mean, even at this point right now, okay, like if I'm sitting here right now thinking about what do I want to, put money down on, right? In the fall, so like Vegas, or I don't know if CCP's announced the dates for whatever that San Diego thing is yet or not, but because who knows what things are going to be like even in the fall. Like even if you assume kind of some sort of summer lull happens, but then the beginning of flu season comes back, like they don't know how this particular one is going to work out on sort of a seasonal basis, right?
Yeah, that's not an unreasonable assumption, Dirk. You don't know how it's going to be in August, September. That might be the second kick on, or the third wave, or the second wave, or whatever.
Yeah.
I expect there not to be like if you're flattening the curve, I expect there to be like not one bump. I'm expecting there to be like multiple.
Well, I mean, even if you are flattening the curve, it doesn't mean that curve doesn't refine itself. 6 months from now, when
that's what he's saying, Doug. He's saying that he expects it to be multiple bump.
Right.
Because you know that when that like bump starts to occur, and then there's like data on that there will be politicians that kind of go, oh, well, we can relax on some of these restrictions, and as soon as when that happens, like there will be a resurgence in the amount of people who are contracting it and being diagnosed with it, right? So that curve will start to go back up, and so they're going to have to it's you're gonna be riding a kind of like a wave.
I'm interested to hear what Luna says if we can get her on sometime in the future, since she is currently a nurse in New York, and it's the cases of the virus and the deaths have gotten quite high.
Well, earlier on we had a whole show about it with Tiberius, who is a I don't know, what is he,
I think he's
like
a
actual doctor kind of thing, like, or is he like a surgeon or something? Like
He's
what?
GP.
Oh, is he GP?
He's a GP.
So yeah, there was a lot of really, really good information in there. Not wanting to pimp like TIS stuff, but like that's a really good one to go watch if you're interested. I'm slowly collecting up all the crazy talk, the crazy sort of news stories for this weekend.
Crazy news stories.
Well, you always get
stories
it.
Or real life news stories.
Real life stories. Like Belgium has a good one. Denmark has a good one so far. So.
Well, just looking at some very recent news here, I am a little bit worried because when they're still building emergency hospital facilities here just to make sure that they have capacity, they don't think that it's over yet. Even though they've kind of shut things down and we had the slowing down of the spread, they're still expecting a shitload of patients.
Well, I mean, I imagine most people are hoping that their authorities are hoping for the best but planning for the worst. And if they're building additional hospitals, then there's at least the planning for the worst part that they're doing, which is actually the more important of the two, to be fair.
They've called upon people to volunteer and provide assistance and support to the NHS in the UK.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Well, I don't know where they're recruiting that, because I don't know how somebody can possibly volunteer. Sitting indoors all day.
Already signed up. It's not that difficult.
It's a website.
It's a website.
Yes, there's a website where you put in your details. And essentially, you're just volunteering to drop off medicines at vulnerable people's houses and shopping and stuff like that.
They got 400,000 in 24 hours.
Yeah, I only heard about it when I heard about the fact that they reached their target within I think it was 2 or 3 hours, and they'd already by this time they've already got 400,000 of the 250,000 that they initially wanted.
Very well.
People can be dumb, but they are nice at least.
Kind. Villy, will Stain be another test region if once you burn it all down, or is that going to be an issue because of the NPC stations and the difficulty holding NPC stuff?
You can't ever make
Can't
an
hold
NPC.
it.
Yeah, we just put some keep stars so we have an entire way through it, so we have some ability to control the areas we want to control. And when I say control, I mean we have a safe spot we can always go to, kind of thing. Not that we would ever be able to yeah.
But it's not like intentions to actually hold Stain.
No.
And like,
I mean, we could live with test in Stain 100%, and it would. How do I put this? We would control it to a degree then, but like that would require us to basically live in Stain 24/7. And
it's a waste of resources, I see.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny because the Stain locals were all like a week or two ago. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna deny them all of the Nirvana implants. We're gonna make sure they can't get them." And it like took me like 2 days, and I had all the implants and BPCs I want. So, like, they're a fragmented group of different people. Like, they live in NPC stations. There's nothing you can really do about them, and they're not generally a giant concern.
I consider them like a minor, localized terrorist threat.
Sure.
Who did you go with, True Power?
Say what?
Who did you go with, True Power?
What do you mean? Who did I go with?
NPCs. You had somebody else doing the work, right? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. No, what I'm saying is that the Stain Russians who hate us agreed to sell us the implants almost. Like, they're like, day one, they're like, we're not going to let them have any of them. Day three, they're like, our cost is this. Contracts will be going up on this station. Is that okay? Like,
do you know anything of what's happening in Omis?
Money talks.
Do you know anything that's happening in Omis? I heard Mango's taking up half of Detroit or Faith of Ball. It's one of the two.
No.
It's one of the things I heard from somebody we know who's, I guess, a hitman down there.
Okay. There's no Faith Abyss or Detroit is fire and Faith Abyss is pretty covered. So.
Something about Mango's moving into additional territory.
Oh, there could be something with that, yeah. There could be.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Now we got all kinds of fun here. That Senate bill that they agreed upon is now no longer apparently agreed upon exactly.
Oh, really?
The first one or the second one?
The one that they agreed upon in the Senate. At like
so the one they agreed upon on Sunday?
No, tonight or last night.
No, yesterday, a few hours ago.
Well, there was two of them. The first one that the Republicans did with the Democrats before Pelosi got back, they agreed to that one, and then she cut that.
Well, no, they did another one. No, they hadn't agreed to it. Then she put out something, and then the Senate one is the only one that's currently actually in motion or whatever. But anyways, they finally came to an agreement last night, and then now apparently 3 Republican senators are indicating that they'll put a block on it because there's
Republican senators.
Hold on a second. 3 Republican senators are threatening to put a block on it because of language that is in there that would. Hold on a second.
Could you link the article somewhere?
I'll try to find it.
Hold on a second. I'll pull it up. What the hell? I'll put it right now. Right now, I just got it on Twitter. Hold on.
By the way, how about that number 2 trillion?
It's fine.
Well, there's 2 trillion in handouts and there's 2 trillions in loans. They're very different things.
well, there's $2 trillion in the relief package, and then there's $4 trillion that is part of Federal Reserve liquidity funding and stuff like that. That's kind of a different beast. But yeah, anyway, so apparently there's language in there. Let's hear a massive drafting error in the current version of the coronavirus relief legislation could have devastating consequences. Unless this bill is fixed, there's a strong incentive for employees to be laid off instead of going to work. This isn't an abstract philosophical point. It's an immediate real-world problem. If the federal government accidentally incentivizes layoffs, we risk life-threatening shortages in sectors, blah, 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 blah. Basically, I think what it has to do with is the language of the expanded and enhanced unemployment compensation section. But so it only takes one person, it only takes one senator, I guess, to block unanimous consent on that thing.
It takes 2 or 3, I think.
But now Bernie Sanders has come out.
Go, Bernie.
And said, unless Republican senators drop their objections to the coronavirus legislation, I am prepared to put a hold on this bill until stronger conditions are imposed on the $500 billion corporate welfare fund.
Oh.
So now we basically have a block war going on.
Oh, man. What's the stock market doing?
That's a good question. You had me wrapped up. I wasn't looking at it today, which maybe is good after yesterday.
Tanking.
I went and looked at it yesterday.
No. I mean, I'm showing it. Well, NASDAQ's about break even. The other one's up about 2%. At least as of right now.
It's not tanking today. I think it's up.
Oh, it's hard for it to tank any more than it's tanked in the last week.
Well, it actually is tanking at this very moment.
I mean, look, I understand what Bernie's doing. He's sitting there going, that over there is no reason to block it. But if you block it because of that, then I'm going to block it for this damn thing over here.
Oh, interesting.
Because they did reach a deal on that slush fund, as it's been, called out there, which is basically that, there's going to have to be oversight on it. There's going to be an inspector general for it. There's going to be a congressional committee that looks at it, and like Trump-owned businesses basically can't receive funds. So they came up with that, but now it appears as though there's this issue with the unemployment stuff and how that's all going to work. And now Bernie's going, fuck it, then I'll just look. So it looks as though it's a threat. I don't know what's gonna come of it. I mean, it doesn't matter if you've got one that blocks it and then the other one goes, well, then fine, I'll block it back. Still blocked.
Yeah. You can't block me. I'm blocking you.
You didn't block me.
It's all political posturing, right? So.
Well, it's priorities saying, if you're going to favor your guys, then I'm going to stop it. And they're saying, well, if you're going to favor your guys, then I'm going to stop it.
Well, all of their guys are the American people, is my understanding. So it's like, as much as, everybody's like, they're, on paper, everybody's looking for their own best interest. In the end, it's everybody's interest to get this stuff passed as quick as humanly possible. Right? And I don't think there's anyone that particularly disagrees with that.
Oh, you'd be surprised. And there's people who are like, on one end are saying, you can't look out for the little guy. I employ thousands of people. You need to favor me so that I could favor them. And that's how you fix this. And you have other people saying, that guy's just going to take a bonus. You can't you can't give him money and just say here, make sure your guys are okay, because the money doesn't trickle down. Yeah, it is all the same.
What do you mean trickle down doesn't work?
Yeah, it's this thing I heard. But anyway,
well, the problem is when you're talking about giving money to people versus loaning people money, that equation changes quite a bit. So,
well, you can
to me there should be no reason they should be even hesitating about giving businesses liquidity, giving them large loans. Yeah,
that's not a big deal. That's easily agreed upon. It's
not. That was the first thing that the Democrats blocked, is it not?
Hold on, Brisk, you just jumped in. So repeat what it was that you just said to me in that other channel.
No, I when I had read the bill earlier, I guess there is an entirely separate like appropriations section that I'm just starting to go through that I didn't see. But I mean, it sounds to me like the big fight now is these guys are concerned that the way that the unemployment expansion language is written, that it's going to just get everybody to lay folks off because they'll get as much as they were making before on unemployment as they would if they were working. So I can understand that that's a concern.
Oh,
but
is this the
I'm just starting to go through the approach stuff.
100% wage for like multiple weeks or months or something?
It's basically like you get $600 on top of whatever the state unemployment amount is, which depending on where you are, I think the highest is like $350 or something. So theoretically, some of these people could make up to $1,000 a week in terms of unemployment benefits, and that's, I mean, if you know you can lay off your workforce and they're going to get that much money off the government, then why would you not do that? So I can understand why these guys are concerned with the language that's in there protecting that. But I'm still going through the second.
But are you saying that there are two distinct bills? One is threatening to block one if the other one blocks the other?
No, it's one of them is this HR 748, which is the vehicle that they're using to put all the policy stuff on.
Right.
And then I've got the text of another bill, or at least it's a division, but it's being called S350 3548 that the Appropriations Committee has put out. And I'm looking at that now, and it's got a ton of stuff that's money-wise that has nothing to do with what I read earlier. So I guess this is, I don't know if they got the numbers screwed up or if there's, this is the text of the bill they're going to put in, dump together. But it's just, I did not see this approach language, and I need to go through it now. It's a big bill. I mean, the original one, the one that they put out this morning that was the Senate compromise that I saw that we got from GOP guys early was 600 some pages, and then this one is another 271. So I got to go through it.
Why do your bills have to be like 600 pages?
Because they're comprehensive, and it's also really large font, and they're all numbered lines, so it's not like a full page of text. It's double spaced, and I mean it's every trick you can use to make it bigger that you would use in college. Just how it is. Like the bill is 600 some pages, the approach section that I'm reading, but then the summary of it is 17. So I'm going to read the summary first and then go through the other part.
So it's double spaced and the margins are 2 inches each.
Oh yeah, I mean I'll link it in the chat so you guys can see what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I was looking at the House one yesterday. Why are we talking about this? What's this got to do with Eve?
Not much. We went to general chat, but I brought up that other thing about the travel stuff and how, quite freaking honestly, if you're booking freaking travel for anywhere, I don't give a shit where it is. You're rolling dice.
Well, at this point, I think everybody can pretty safely admit the travel industry is basically dead, right? It's even if they bail them out, etc., nobody's going to be, and even once the economy reopens, nobody's going to be traveling for months and months, like 10 or 20% of the traffic of normal, I would think.
Yeah, but those cheap tickets.
Exactly.
Well, the only people that be flying are the ones that already got corona and recovered.
$69 Cancun, hell yeah!
That is a good point, Billy. You already got it and recovered. You're like, I'm traveling the world.
Well, but you say that, but there won't actually be all these cheap flights because those cheap flights only usually exist for like a variety of reasons in terms of like trying to keep people in jobs, trying to keep airline passages open. Like there's a variety of reasons they do those cheap flights. Most of those currently don't exist and won't exist for a while. So it's going to be interesting to say the least.
Well, I was just kidding, Brisk. Sorry, Derek. It's not a requirement to talk about Eve. Just
No, I didn't think that it was.
Okay.
I just didn't have another thing after that.
Well, I'm surprised, Billy.
You shit out of me today. I'll talk about Eve if you want.
Well, I'm surprised. Billy, you're like, I guess, the general, the highest ranking military leader in test. I'm surprised you don't have access to Alliance money to, well, fund some of your own personal things.
I do have access to it, but there's a difference between access and accountability. Maybe I don't know how to.
Accountability. You couldn't ask for one measly. You can't ask for like I don't know, a little bit of assets to be able to fund your own private.
Well, the second you start asking, bad, okay? Yeah, the second you start asking for money to do things, like you then put the other people you're asking in a situation where they feel required to give it to you.
I see. There was. I recall somebody mentioned that there was an idea to fund like the Alliance leaders' accounts by paying for their Omega subscriptions or their Plex, but that was shut down because it was sort of controversial. Well, it was controversial.
Like I would love to get my stuff paid for, don't get me wrong, but like once you go down that road, it gets all kinds of problematic real quick. Like, and personally,
not everybody can be pro God, right?
Jesus.
You do have do have spare Titans and Supers to sell if you need to fund.
Well,
like
I had one of our members who was leaving the game for some reasons. He gave me his Komodo, or left me his Komodo while he's not playing, I guess you could say. So basically what I had been building up as my Komodo fund for 5 or 6 months basically got turned into my slush fund. So I haven't been short of play cash, I guess you could say. I bought myself like a Cayman and a Dagon, and I was like, I'm gonna have fun, yay. So
you went shopping?
Yeah. But then I realized there was absolutely no situation in which I could actually ever really use those ships. So,
I'm kind of stuck with that because my Zernitra I have not taken out yet because there's nowhere to use it.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, so a Cayman is like a HOD, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe I can HOD some things around, but I'm like, it doesn't really work because anytime you jump it in, either people are going to run away or they're going to kill you because they know they can kill you, right? Like, so it's this really awkward situation.
You have to be careful. You'll get bat phoned on.
Well, yeah, exactly, right? And like HOD reds are not actually like super tanky, so.
Yeah, but surely a Cayman has like at least some of the like potential, like fight potential of, say, seeing a gold magnate, right?
Well, you see that recent, well, not so recent, but you see the most recent Shemosh loss by Hruvnir. That happened because, the guy jumped his Hodred in, and then due to a miscommunication, it got basically targeted. They ditched the Rorqual just to bring it down, and then they killed the Rorqual.
Yep, it's not far from different.
So unless you have a proper fleet surrounding your big expensive ship like Tree Newbie does, it's not ideal.
Tree Newbie?
Well, you haven't seen what Tree Newbie does now?
No. All I know is that Tree Newbie's my favorite guy in Eve, after like feeding us like 2 Vanquishers and whatever else.
2 Vanquishers, a Tiamat. He's an interesting fella. He's trying to flip his Moloch right now, if anybody's interested. And a bunch of officer mods.
No.
But no, that's what Tree Newbie does now. Here's some hot intel leaks for you. We went into Frato Asa space on a 25-man filament back in December, Christmas time, and they scrambled a massive fleet to deal with us because they couldn't. 25 people should suddenly show up in ships. It's not that easy to make a defense fleet for, especially if they're better prepared than you are. So he actually brought his Vanquisher on grid, along with a Titan and 2 or 3 supers as an escort. And I'm sure there were faxes nearby, but they didn't warp on grid. He does not travel without at least another Titan, another 2 supercaps to back up his Vanquisher now.
Dirk, they put the Kennedy Center and the NEA grants back in.
Into the House bill or into
the Senate deal?
For the love of God.
I can't believe they did.
Well, It's in there in the one that got agreed to, or it's
As
now
I
something.
understand it, yes. It's part of this approach package that's in this bill, or supposed to be in this bill. This is as of 3:40. So I don't know if this is still good or not.
Where's the one that they released this morning that was supposedly agreed upon last night?
I sent that. If you look in voice chat, the first one, download PDF, is the original from this morning. And then this is the new thing that I just got like an hour ago.
Oh.
As for whoever's asking for the price of the Moloch, we're looking in the $500 billion range. It's a fully fit Moloch he's trying to sell, I believe.
Brisk, are you selling a Moloch again?
No, it's true new.
No,
it's true newbie.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, Link.
Okay, it's not fully fit, but I was actually going about looking for. I'll link it in. I'm not sure if he's still selling it, but he was flipping a few ships. I was going around looking for an AT ship to buy my friend, and
I hope
that's
your
when I came
friend's name is
across.
Briskrich.
Sadly, my friend no longer plays. It's because I no longer intend. But yeah, I was looking for an AT ship, and I found where things were being sold, like the officer mods were being sold, Molochs, Vanquishers, that type of thing. And if anybody's interested in some conspiracy theory, we accuse of like certain alliances in the northern regions of botting for their money, right? Well, if you want to know where all that Gila botting and Ishtar botting money goes, just look at a certain somebody from that alliance trying to buy AT ships or faction titans or faction supers in this forum. That's where all the money goes. That's where the trail, leads to.
If somebody owned a full set of AT ships and they got banned, would that just be those things lost for eternity?
Yep.
Ouch.
But
it's why some of
it's
the
a
AT
shame.
ships are so rare, because Somer Blink had a bunch of them when he got banned.
Oh, you say Somer Blink had some of them?
Don't they also burn the money?
I think the money goes to ISD.
What do they do with it?
I think they use that to reimburse people when shit gets given back. That's destroyed.
It's interesting that they bother to put it into that cycle when they can just summon cash, I suppose.
Well, they don't like to do that. I think that's kind of the whole thing.
They don't like to print
Central bank likes to move money around instead of creating it when they don't have to.
Well, Billy, since you have a Cayman, be careful because nobody's lost a Cayman yet, and I'm very sure somebody wants to make somebody the very first kill mail. According to Ezekiel, nobody's actually lost a Cayman yet.
No, fuck that noise. Billy, if you're going to lose it properly.
What does that mean?
You know what it means.
Dread fight?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Go in bowling. Actually, I should go take it to dread fight and just not siege and see if they primary me. Live off of facts and so
All
on.
right, Dirk, this makes more sense now because they were making claims this morning about there was money for transit and money for this and stuff in this bill that I didn't see, and now I see where it is. So yeah, this looks right now.
Who's chewing out loud?
Billy.
It's Billy.
Well, which part looks right now? The fact that they're blocking it looks right now?
No. It's not that they're blocking it, that it's in here.
So that MER, we're gonna have to dissect that. We're talking about real world.
Well, am I wrong? Did they miss the mining? They usually have a mining graph, and they didn't have it this time. At least I didn't.
Well, they only show like 7 pages out of the whole document, which is about 30, I think. So
all right, I guess I got to download it.
They may not highlight that page. You have to download it and open it and look. I doubt they would leave that out because it's such an automated report.
And if you look carefully at the guy who made an offer, he's a senior up in VVV who has been widely accused of botting. So that's where I track the money to. If anybody's looking to snipe or kill one of those, you're probably going to have to look at those alliances.
I'm looking at the MER now to see if there's something.
Well, and as for people who are interested in buying AT ships, now is the best time to buy it, or the worst time, because suddenly a load of people have begun trying to sell their AT ships recently. Like,
why do you think that is?
Quitting, RMT,
Hypernet.
one of the 3. Oh, Hypernet.
That is, the Hypernet is not, I guess, used as much as it was early on. So maybe people who collected AT ships, I don't know, just trying to unload them now.
I feel bad for Casper, who've wasted, what was it, 100 and something billion selling that Raven's estate issue, which you never saw. I remember ProGuard was doing a stream about it.
Yeah, the fees were about 150 billion, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be mistaken. But they were trying to sell a ship for 4 trillion. So they had to pay 5% of that upfront. And that was lost.
Somebody's calling me stupid for accusing people of botting. Hey, it's speculation. Oh, and the fact that I've killed a lot of them and reported them.
Have you gotten those emails that say, hey, you were right, it was a botter?
Oh yeah, every time I pass through Cobalt Edge and certain northeastern territory. I've got so many emails, I stopped keeping track of it. Let's take a look right now.
I like to call it the bot fields of Oasa.
Well, there is a literal alliance with the ticker bot. Yeah, the last report I did was about 2 days ago, and the last report I got from CCP that they took action was 2 days ago.
Well, to be fair, the Brothers of Tanker thing, that was kind of the joke.
Yes.
Just like the RMT was a joke too.
Yeah, Brothers of Tanker is one of the least botting alliances in the drone regions now.
But anybody who warps off before you tackle them and certainly botting. That's just
Damn, I guess all my shit's going to be in the next bill.
The mining is in the MER, by the way.
All right, good. I'll go find it then. I guess they just didn't put it up on the page with the splash page.
Interesting enough, certain things are actually cheaper in Doe-Dixie, and it's actually had me scratching my head why people are selling things for so much cheap in Doe-Dixie. Now, I'm not going to say what items, because I like to keep them cheap, but if you go about in Doe-Dixie, you might find some rather useful, I guess, modules that are so much cheaper than Jita. Does anybody know if there's a reason things are being sold cheaper in Doe-Dixie, and it's been so
Depends
popular?
on what you're talking about, and if you're not willing to say that, then it's difficult to comment, because if it's like faction or meta, it might be manipulation from Jita, so could be many reasons.
I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Well,
So what happens is the regional markets, Doe-Dixie, Amar, Renz, Heck, like the non-JITA major markets. They fluctuate just like JITA does. So you have producers that produce in JITA, you have producers that produce in Dodixie. And occasionally, JITA, for example, will get bought out of an item, which will cause the price to spike. But that similar buyout will not happen in Dodixie, which will cause the price in Dodixie to stay the same. That will result in the price in Dodixie being lower than the price in JITA.
And there's not a lot of active attempts to correct manipulations in the secondary and tertiary hubs because it's just a waste of time.
Yeah, the supply and demand curves are different in every hub, and at the same time, there's just not the same activity and velocity. So.
Well, thank you for the explanation. I see why it's like that now.
Maybe a waste of time for Svengalis like you, Caleb.
No, it's just there's usually not enough volume, or sometimes it's actually too much volume to do a manipulation or cornering in all the trade hubs. Then you're pretty much just hoping for people to be dumb, and then eventually someone will go to the secondary hub and resupply from there unless they have stock.
Well, and because of the prevalence of suicide ganking, there's almost no incentive to try and market correct. So if I could make 10% shipping items from Dixie to JITA or vice versa, in theory, that's a great opportunity to make money. But because of the risk of suicide ganking on the way, any amount of money where you would make good money doing so, the risk outweighs the reward in most cases.
I think you just made my point of why shipping and arbitrage in EVE is cancer.
It seems the only people that benefit are people who happen to pass by there.
Well, the people that benefit from regionalized markets are the people that utilize those regional markets. So the people that, actively PvP, PvE there, and the people who produce there. So the people that produce make more money in theory, and they sell their goods, and the people that work and live there, they have goods to buy.
I always ask myself the question, is it worth it taking 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, to get things a few million cheaper? And the answer is no.
For some people it is. If you get 50 million in your wallet.
As if you're going to trade them immediately.
Well, if you're going to use the damn things, no.
Well, it's the difference, if you're going to fit out a T1 Caracal, or a T2 fitted Caracal, or whatever, and you've got 10 million ISK in your wallet, all of those 100,000 ISKs might matter. If you've got 200 million ISK in your wallet, maybe it doesn't matter, but maybe it does too, right? Everything's variable based on the experience and the situation around it. So.
See, I understand that you can get it for cheaper, but then again, with the time that you spent getting it cheaper, you could have made even more back.
Well, you could, but can they? Do they have those kind of money-making opportunities? You got to look at it from.
They should.
Well, no, that's not true at all, right? What if you only have level 1 and 2 missions available to you for making money? Which is a very real situation for many players.
Then you're a scrub who needs to do more missions, right?
Right, but...
That was a joke, guys. Just kidding.
Don't everybody's trying to get to the top and survive with the fittest, so...
I think Dirk's 25% off Dixie coupon is a good idea.
For sale in the NES.
There you go.
Totally.
Flex.
The price of Kiki's has been steadily rising, and I think that's probably because I lose like one a day.
The price of Bifrost is steadily rising, and it's very irritating because our CEO keeps feeding his backpack.
Say that one again?
The price of Bifrost is rising, and it's...
Bifrosts, yeah. Okay.
Bifrost, yes. It's our CEO keeps feeding his backpack, and each feed is making it more and more expensive. Somebody is buying up all these Bifrosts.
What's your next doctrine, Villy, so I can corner the market?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Well, the secret to making money and creating doctrines is to put a spy out into the many EVE alliances and then becoming an FC in their alliance, and then sending your own small gang into the system and FCing that fight using ships that you shipped down to there and have on contract, and you call for that doctrine. And after that, you defraud the SRP department, and then buy more ships and funnel some of that money into your main account that was doing the small gang into that space in the first place. And you infinitely repeat it until, you get caught.
What, Caleb, or somebody, why is Plex softened selling for less?
There's not that much high frequency trading patty cake incentives anymore, so now it's trying to find its actual utility price.
It's also important to remember there's more people playing the game, which means more people possibly buying Plex, which means more Plex.
Yeah, new players.
Also, they had a big sale that allowed you to buy time at 50% off for straight cash. So maybe people aren't buying up the Plex they need to fund their accounts. Maybe.
Well, an important factor is the one that really is trying kind of mentioning the fact that if you read Dunk's blog, it looks like CCP is actually getting good numbers of new players coming in and actually retaining them, and these people will then be likely to kickstart their gameplay with buying Plex into the system, and then they are actually oversupplying the system, so it's kind of flattening or tanking.
It's a little bit longer than that as well. Don't forget the dual character training.
The volume doesn't look that different, so I see matter.
No, for the most part, the trading in the TTT has been pretty much stable, consistent.
The CCP introduced this dual character training, whereas if you buy 3 months worth of cash, you get dual character. So those characters don't necessarily need the Plex,
right,
to train also.
But look at the Danchin channel on this, and that Matterhall is on the screen now, and you can see like the volume goes up at right after, like right before the 1st of March, and that's when everything starts going down. So that's what it looks like. It looks like that must have been when the sale hit, which I guess somebody could confirm because I can't remember. I know there was a Plex sale recently because I bought some.
It's close enough to say it sounds right.
So that looks like it's just, there was a sale, there's a dump on the market, and so the price is going to go down steadily until there's either a big volume of people buying stuff or another sale.
You're saying it's at the swing, right? Where
what you see, I'm saying exactly what you're saying, Caleb. You're exactly right. It looks like to me that this is just, it's flattening out because there's not. There's a little bit every time there's an increase in the volume, you see the price goes down. So that's just people buying and selling.
So if you're looking at this chart, I don't know how easy it is to see, but the mean, is it the mean? Let me check.
That's the dot on the line that spans the Donkian. So you got high and low trade. That's the dot on that line. That's supposed to be the median.
Right. So what you're looking at, you have a Dacian chain, which is channel. Which is the difference between the sell and the buy, and that's that gray area. So the wider that is, the more room there is between the people who want to sell and the people who want to buy. The tighter that is, the closer those two are together, which means that's the real. You're getting closer to the real price.
Price, right?
And what you're looking for is where that dot is, and you can see the dot in this visual is at the bottom, and that's why you see the price going down, because the pressure is being the dot, the median is closer to the buy price. So it's pushing it down and down and down. That means that's where most of the sales are.
It's telling you that the market is concluding on the buy side, so it's being sold. People are offloading Plex, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to predict how it's going to go over the next while, but.
Well, my suspicion is that you're going to see the Donkian widen a bit because you don't have that whole competition thing. So that could actually widen, and that's where you will have to trade, because then you will only see the changes when there's actual utility on either of the sides. So when you have things like an influx of new players or an incentive to plex off more accounts, you're going to see the price rise a bit and widen the Donkian on the upside. So I don't think you're going to see that much, and as you can see, the volume doesn't seem to have changed much at all. There's really no change. So this whole thing of slowing down of the market is not really true. The market mechanics has changed, but it doesn't change the fact that we need stuff for specific things, and that's always going to be a case.
The moving average might say that's not quite as accurate as you could have been. It's like 3% slope.
How can you tell that?
I can see it on the graph.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting moment, right? Like I'm fixated on this day, the 21st, which is a weekend, I think.
Well, incidentally, moving average just filters out all the noise, right? That's basically what moving average. So it gives you an idea of what you can do in the short term and what you can do in the long term.
Right. Moving average is the average of all the sales, isn't it?
Yeah. And 21st was Saturday, 22nd was Sunday.
Yeah, based on whatever time frame you set.
Now, the reason I know that that's the weekend is because you can see the volume here. Those are the blue bars at the bottom. The taller ones are more things being sold. The shorter ones are less things being sold. So during the week, you sell less things. During the weekends, usually you'll have more sales. So when you see these twin towers on the 21st and 22nd, that tells you that that's a weekend. So when I look at this, I look at the median price sitting well below the average moving price.
It's people offloading Plex in those two cases, because you can see the price is actually dropping. It's going to buy orders, I believe.
Right. And if you think about that in terms of what does that really mean when the medium order is lower than the average that's moving? Is it exactly what Caleb said? People are offloading, so they're willing to take it for less than the moving average. They're willing to take less money just to get rid of it.
It's always the important part. It's what Brisk was hinting at when he pointed out the fact that earlier you saw the 5-day moving average dips below the 20-day moving average, and that's usually a sign that the price are going to keep falling. And you're always waiting for these swings when these two lines cross. That's when you have to either get out or get into a market, depending on how you're investing. And this is what you're going to see a lot more of, not necessarily in Plex, because Plex is most likely going to stay flat, but in other actual markets with real volatility and changing prices. These are the things that, because of this new change that makes the curves more smooth, because you're not going to get a lot of this patty cake price changes, you're going to be able to actually sit there and look at the market and see how it moves, and then put in your bets on the buy and the sell side. It's going to be very nice for market people.
So let's go over that a little bit so people can maybe understand that with this little example here. So here you have the median price below the moving average, which means people.
Plex is a horrible market to look at for this. It's really a bad. Yeah, it's really a bad item because it's so static and dead.
Okay, well, let me just show it with this little example, and we'll go to something else. The very next day, and this is a weekend, right? So this is when people are really selling or buying, because that's when they're playing. And you can see that people are mostly selling on the 21st. On the 22nd, you can see that number's a lot tighter to the moving average. So it's easing up. So people have already sold what they want to sell, or there's different people who were not willing to take less than the moving average. And then by Monday, the moving average is actually below the median. So the median went up, and by Monday, it's over the moving average, and that means it's kind of stabilized. So that may be a signal, those 3 days, of I better get into, I better make a move of some sort, either to get out or, well, who knows? I won't tell you what to do because I'm not exactly sure, but that's a way you can read this to get information that'll help you make a decision and see a trend line. Okay, let's look at something else. You recommend something? If not, I'll pick something. I always go to damage control. Wow, this is a big example of, you can see the mediums pulling it up here. They're above the moving average. So when people are buying above the average, then people are going to say, I'm going to try to get more money off this piece. So they raise their price, and you can see the curve starts to move upwards.
You really have to stop picking things that are almost dead or fixed price. Take 2 stuff, almost the same price the last fucking 5 years.
That's true. These are usually about this amount. Okay, give me some.
I can't think of something on the top of my head, but I might actually want to look at something like Tech One halls of some sort, some of the ones that I utilized a lot.
Minerals have had a change, haven't they?
I've had a thought about the Plex price. Could it be that because of the virus, more people are playing and realize they're going to be stuck playing and stuck indoors for a while, they'd stop their accounts rather than relying on Plex and having to get the...
Well, I think it'd be the opposite. I would think that folks are worried about money, so they're going to be plexing when they can, rather than spending real money that they could be spending on food or something else if they need it.
You're right. That the inverse does sound more...
Matter, I'll look at Kiki prices. That'll be funny to look at.
The new hotness. Yeah, that's more volatile. Thanks.
Yay, actual activity.
Yeah, it's actually bouncing.
Look at that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Jesus
That
Christ,
moving average is suggesting that we have a floor. So it's acting as a support. The moving average in this case is acting as a support.
Yeah, that's minimum price.
Yep.
What that tells you is everybody's doing Kiki doctrines now. And they're whelping a lot of fleets with them.
Well, I look at volumes for fleets, for big fleets, as someone stocking up for something. These seem to be selling, but consistently. So that tells me, and I'm just predicting here, but that tells me it's just a certain class of player preferring that ship instead of bulk buys by nullsec because they switch doctrines.
Well, you have groups like Darkworkers hunting big targets. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, as well as Initiative running the Kiki doctrine against the Hard Knocks eviction.
And Matt, you need a crash course from Reaver about reading tables as well, because the graphs are nice and you can say a lot, but it's a lot easier to look at tables in many cases when you actually want to say something, because right now you can't really see what the market depth is doing.
I agree with her very much. I always look at tables when I do my own stuff. I get a quick idea by looking at graphs, but then if I'm interested in something, I'll look at tables only. I think the graphs kind of tell you what happened and not as precisely as the tables do. And what we're saying here is that every graph in EVE Online for the market has a table equivalent. If you just switch off the graph and switch it to table, you're able to see the actual numbers, and you will get a different impression of the same information.
Because then you get the details on the actual volumes and the number of concluded orders, and then you can compare that to looking at the actual market, where you can see the depth of the market and see how many items are actually still on each side. And that's really so the order of doing this is actually backwards. You look at the tables, and then you look at the market depth, and then you go and look at the graph, and then you start putting in your bets.
Oh, I do it backwards. I think it's easier to see a trend line in tables as well, like a realistic trend line.
As far as Kikimoras go, they're basically just really good and also to a degree disposable. So it's only natural that, as demand goes up, so too will the price. Kikis are like one of the most fundamentally broken ships in the game at the moment.
OP?
You mean they're the most fundamentally awesome ships in the game at the moment?
Are those two things usually not how do you call that, interlinked?
I thought that would be the Loki.
Loki's up there too.
Massively, that's more of a production thing, I think, right now. 550 mil Loki 4 months ago cost me 850 now.
How big is that huge spike, Manuel, of purchases?
On the right-hand side?
The 2 volumes that concluded, 6, 7, 8 days ago or something. There's like 2 big spikes. How big were they?
The biggest one is 800. Basically,
and how many is available on the market right now?
I don't know.
You're going to force me to log in?
Well, I'm using a website that doesn't give you the same charts that are in there, but
Can we take a look at the price rise of the
selling here? It's 300. Yeah, so 330 on the market. That spike was 800.
Yeah, then it's still going to keep rising. How many do you usually use in a fleet, really? Approximately?
How many does a person use in a fleet?
How many do you guys usually have in fleet when you are using these ships?
Tess doesn't use them a ton, but usually when you have them in fleet, you have at least 60 or so.
Nice.
It also depends. Some people use Lokis for Logi, some people use them as DPS ships, some people just use them for links.
Can we take a look at the price of the Loki? I think it's risen quite a bit.
The trick with looking at Loki prices too is you have to factor in the subsystems, which I believe have also gone up in price.
Drekavac has actually dropped in price.
Less people using it.
I think that explains why we encountered Logi Drex. Yeah, the Loki is just so oppressive, and it's gotten quite popular just because of how strong it is now.
Well, I didn't notice it go up.
Yeah, we're pretty much slowly seeing more and more things going into actually being profitable again, which is kind of interesting.
That's cool.
And then we're seeing these volatile things where things are really getting picked up because, according to my sources, they are getting really useful again.
So
and then there's the whole tier side stuff that's just a weird mess that I need to ask people about because I don't know what that's going to mean to meta doctrines and how they're going to shift.
The Loki module for offensive systems has gone way up in the last couple days. Appears to be spiking. People are paying way over the average price. Well, it spiked a lot higher, but look at these humps. They seem to go up every it's like every 45 days they seem to spike.
Now, I know for a fact that Dirk is not paying attention right now because he would not have let you say hump without making a joke.
What? I did miss hump, though. I missed it.
He's reading.
Dirk's favorite is double bottoms, isn't it, Dirk?
Double bottom. Have we hit a double bottom yet?
What's that?
Yeah, I seen one earlier in the ISK volume.
A bottom under a bottom?
Looked like it was developing in the S volume on the MER.
How much has the stock market?
I haven't looked since the last time you asked.
It's 21,200.
It's up 2% today.
It is up. It's still up even after.
Yeah, but it looks like it went up 5% and then dropped to no. Only
well, it was up, but they just started the bitching about the unemployment stuff like 2 hours ago.
This is because the volatility is due to the congressional deal.
Yeah.
Hmm. So market talk, real life and EVE Online. See, it would be interesting.
Let's not talk real life markets.
It would be so interesting.
Bloodbath.
If like comments or prices skyrocket on Villy's comments about the CSM being happy with what they heard from CCP, or the opposite. Stocks tank because Merkelchen put out a tweet saying how dissatisfied he was.
Well, I've always been puzzled why you don't abuse the fact that you pull these high rollers onto the show more and ask them these questions so you can move the market with your questions and speculate in advance.
See, that's a good idea. I should do that now.
Well, the NDAs kind of jam everything up.
Well, there's nothing in the A about what's actually being utilized in space and what fleet doctrines are being fielded. That's not an NDA issue.
I'm imagining any battleship meta will have to be a double meta.
I would suspect that's why frigate hulls are increasing that much. People are buying them off to prep.
You can figure out where the markets are going for the most part if you read CSM minutes, if you listen to where the complaints are, if you listen to shows like ours where people talk at length about how some things should be fixed, you'll start to get an idea of like, well, faction ships are in a bad place. They're too cheap. That's pretty clear evidence if everybody's complaining about that. And CCP says at any point, yeah, we understand, we agree, that something's going to happen there.
Just be careful about trying to jump in on things that everyone can know, because then you're going to end up in the same problem that a lot of people, both market people and industry folks, were when they changed the battleships, and they ended up with what was it, 3 or 4 years of stock risk?
Yeah, something like that.
It's completely crazy.
I guess I'm going to keep this for a while.
The bad one for me was when they changed freighters to be able to have. First, they said it was going to be rigs. So I bought all the ingredients for the rigs that were going to be popular. And I flew all over the place just buying everything. And it wasn't much, but then they said, oh, we're not going to put rigs. We're going to put low slots. So it happens. I think it even made it to the test center with rigs or close to it.
That's a good question. Whether the Astero can actually be used.
For what?
Frigate escape bay. I heard probably.
Frigate, is it?
It's a frigate.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a frigate.
Then
And
should be fine.
it's a faction frigate. That's considered a T1.
That's fine. I put a bunch of Nurgles in mine. I put a bunch of Retributions in mine.
I mean, the reason why I would be asking a question like that is because it's considered a covert ship. But not in a military sense. It's not a military covert ship, although it can be used for that. It's supposed to be for exploration.
Now you're gonna make me test.
By game mechanics terms, it is not classified as a covert ops frigate.
Then it can be used.
Let's see if the price spiked. It is spiking. It's the first day of it spiking.
I thought that information was out from like a previous Talking in Stations episode.
What did Talking in Stations say?
I think I remember you being there when
Manic has created another one apparently.
Oh, I gotta see it. Where is it? Did he put it on Twitter?
I'll link it. Hold on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's so good.
Where did he put it?
I put it in voice chat.
It's on Twitter.
All right, let's hear it. It's not coming up.
Click on view.
Brisk tweets. I love you.
Oh, it's got a potentially sensitive, so you have to say view. Okay.
That, like, actual people that... It shows out the part of Eve that, like, actual people that care about watching some lazy ass...
User in your channel was kicked from the server.
It shows out the part of Eve that, like, actual people that care about watching some lazy ass...
User in your channel was kicked...
Oh, that's controversial. How can you move Dirk out of his own channel? No, 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 no. Dirk, I find it offensive. I'm not even amused by that one. Makes me mad.
The funny part, or Matterall's microphone is getting increasingly boomy.
Dirk is the king of OC. It's his show.
Sometimes shit gets fun. That's funny.
You're a better man.
He's using a couple of the soundboard things that have come up.
No, but I mean, it's like, let's just talk about it. Open comms to me is Dirk McGurk and friends. Throw him out of the channel. It's like, it's not open comms.
Not really, not anymore.
Not anymore? I don't know. You got at a certain point, open comms had so many people that were super informative. And I mean,
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Just like a few months ago, you weren't there. You were out, right? But you had guys that were super informed about EVE Online, and I couldn't make it through the show. I was falling asleep. So it's clearly not about the information.
Yeah, I don't know what it's about.
You're not going to say anything, are you, Dirk? I can't.
No, I'm just saying. I don't know what. I've been saying a long time. I don't know what it's about. Honestly, it's about people playing and/or associated with EVE just coming and shooting the shit, and some of it's about EVE and some of it's not. And
yep, kind of like this, without the booze.
It's like happy hour after work. Sometimes you talk work shit, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. I do miss BC's games. I know you hated those, but I liked them.
Well, you know what? It's in hindsight, right? It's like, yeah, I kind of miss some of them too, but especially the ones before video. It's like somehow or another we pulled that off. Like like The Price is Right.
Yeah. Well, you had I think it was a little bit of EVE trivia were the questions.
Yeah. There was a game about EVE trivia. Yeah. Although that was back when, giving 50 million ISK away, somebody felt good about it.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it meant something. Now people are like, don't waste my time.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's my super?
You're not coming with 1 billion min.
Should we open a poker game?
Open a poker game?
Yeah.
You're actually like live right now?
Not now, but gambling in stations. We should open a poker game.
Gambling in stations. Just as long as you're not giving Eve stuff away.
I do like the animation though that Manic put together here with the slamming on the button.
Yeah, he's getting good at that.
From
I told him I said when you go to a longer length one, you're gonna have to do Drayden telling one of his go to jail stories.
Oh my gosh. Drayden should be like dead several times over. He's got so many lives.
That's
living on the edge.
It shows out the part of Eve that like actual people that care about watching some lazy ass.
User in your channel was.
What a great camera move. He creates motion by zooming the camera in and out real quick.
Well, I don't know why she's wearing a hat. She never wears a hat.
Yeah, I just took it as voice being used for something else.
Yeah, no, it is.
That computer is like...
Yeah, I had a computer like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Freaking 21-inch monitor was the thing.
21? I think I had an
17 was the consumer.
With like a 15, and then I was like cool as hell when I got my 17-inch.
Yeah. Well, I was 21 because I worked as a graphic designer, so we could justify that.
PC beige.
Oh, so bad. For a while, I bought PC computing, I think it was. It was a Mac knockoff before Jobs came back. The Apple company decided, okay, we're gonna put out our operating system and let people build computers for it. That lasted like 2 or 3 years. And the thing was, they weren't Hackintoshes. They were actually legitimate, licensed clones to Apple's machines, and they were better. And that they were faster and they had better specs and they worked great. Then Apple said, okay, we're not doing that anymore.
CCP Convict. Dirk is an old nerd like me. He remembers beige PCs. Oh yeah, I remember beige PCs. Although I'm trying to think. First one, what I had, the first PC was a Tandy, the freaking Radio Shack brand.
Yeah,
or whatever.
That's Radio Shack.
And that one wasn't even.
It was an Apple IIgs.
It wasn't even PC beige. It was more like a dingy white or something.
Yeah, that's true. It's an off-white.
They hadn't hit the standard for PC beige yet. I think even my friends IBM. What's that?
Do you still have your old computers lying around somewhere?
No,
I wish.
No. I still have an old Windows 98 computer lying around with its 8 megabytes of RAM.
Yeah, I wish I still had my Commodore 64 around, because that one was PC beige too at the time. Actually,
that was dark.
That may have been a little darker beige.
Dirk, all of those were probably white until 10 years worth of smoking turned them
No.
PC.
What was I was a smoker when I was like 10 years old.
I think somewhere in the house
11.
is still my stepfather's Atari. Back when those were the hottest thing.
I wish I still had my old Intellivision. I would play the hell out of that still if I had it.
Yeah, the first thing.
Man.
Well, I
spent a lot of summers
I had
playing
an Atari.
television.
I had an Atari 2600, but before that, I had this other thing. God, now it sounds like stories I've told on Open Console. It was like this triangle shaped console, and on one side it had kind of like the Pong controllers. On the other side, it had a steering wheel, so you could do like racing type games. And on the other side, it had a pistol in a holster for like shooting games.
Oh wow!
And in the middle of it, it had this triangular shaped like console cartridge that would plug into the top for the different types of games.
I remember after we had the Apple II, I finally convinced my dad to get us another computer because I said the Apple II doesn't have any games on it. I want to play some games. I need a PC. And I remember we bought some kind of 486.
It was a Coco Telstar you had, that, right?
From Sam's
something like
Club.
that.
I remember playing on that forever.
The hell is Eve News 24 up to?
There you go, Matterall. I just sent you a picture of it.
Is Eve News 24 still a thing?
Yeah,
that's what Sarah feels like writing something.
God, wow, that thing looks like it's made out of wood.
It's got real wood grain.
Look at you can't see it very well, but the yellow in the middle is super 80s graphics.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's an old Coleco. That's crazy.
It just screams arcade.
Oh yeah, Coleco. I like these faux odometers here.
No, okay. So, all right. So I had that, right, and I was in fifth grade. I was in fifth grade at the time, so that would have been 1980, I guess. And towards the end of school, like elementary school, fifth grade, towards the end of the school year, like we were having some free days, and the teacher let us bring in some things, and I brought that in, hooked it up to this giant ass TV, and in this back room off of the classroom, and it had a door, so the door was closed, and there were like, I don't know, 6 of us in there. We end up not playing the game. We end up taking the cartridge off and playing spin the cartridge.
Because spin the cartridge was more fun than the actual game.
For kisses from the girls. No lie, man. Oh wow.
What you were really interested in?
I don't know how high my tube socks were at that time, but
I bet that gun didn't have a red dot on the front of it either. I bet it looked
no, it
like
probably didn't. No, you could have probably totally robbed a liquor store with that.
Someone say red dot?
That's hilarious. Spin the cartridge.
Yes, I had that before Atari, and then after Atari, my buddy had Intellivision, so I didn't end up getting Intellivision, but that's when I got a Commodore 64.
Intellivision was so good. It was so much better than Atari in like every single way. My grandmother had Atari, and we had Intellivision, and I would go over to play Atari just to try it. I was like, "This is junk.
This is junk." But if you had an Atari, you'd have been like, "Oh man!" And then Intellivision's an upgrade, right?
Exactly. That would have been great.
I think the only person writing for Eve News 24 is Seraph right now.
That's probably true.
The best part of your console there is the skill setting there. You can have one skill. It's magic.
Yeah, it's just a couple things.
I'm trying to think, because after my Tandy, how was it? Well, I think my Tandy was had like a 25 megahertz processor.
Was it like a trash
and like
80?
a 5 megabyte like a 5 megabyte hard drive or something? It was like, and then
which Tandy was it? Was it the white one that was just like the keyboard, then you plugged it into a regular TV?
No.
Or was it like the trash 80 that had a monitor built into it?
No, it didn't have the monitor built into it. It was a like it had its own. It had a separate keyboard, and then like it was like a PC.
Interesting.
But then and then I remember that was the first time that I upgraded. I learned how to upgrade the processor, and I think I upgraded from like 25 megahertz to 33 megahertz, and I was rocking, man.
Remember, I got a 48650 laptop for college, and that was all exciting because I could play Civilization.
All right, Convict's in channel.
Yeah, he's out there. Yeah, and then I remember like I had a book because I wanted to learn how, and then it was like that was back obviously like I don't know, late 80s. I had another one I was learning. I think that was an Amiga or whatever, and
you had
that's
Amiga?
when I really learned.
That's badass. Those things were
great. It was an Amiga, yeah. And
my buddy's brother had one of those, and I was always jealous of him.
But like pre-plug and play, right? Like when you're having to like flip switches on motherboards and shit.
Yeah. But that was like, he used to do like all this kind of fractal things on his Amiga, and it was just like the coolest shit I ever saw. It's like, this is awesome. I wish I could do that. Convict, you should just get in the chat and talk to us. You can nerd out with old school computer stuff.
Well, that's what was kind of cool about that show. What was it, Halt and Catch Fire? Kind of about the
epic series.
PC and all that kind of. Yeah, it was kind of a cool show.
Yeah, it was the early Bamboo PC competition, right?
Yeah.
I had to jump in on this because you guys are talking about old school.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
You guys are talking about
get in here.
You guys are talking about super old school gaming, PC, and stuff like that, and like this is my jam. I need to be a part of this conversation. I have to inject myself into it. No, seriously, big time. Like since I got to Iceland, in my goddamn storage, because I've got too much stuff to actually move into where I'm living. I've got a 486 DX266. Beautiful
nice.
machine.
Oh man.
I've got a Pentium 3 separately standing beside that. I've got my C64C, not the breadbit. That you guys are talking about old school video games. It's like this is where I come in. This is my jam.
486. You get your 486. Your Pentium 1 rocking Windows 95.
Pentium 1 went from like 60 megahertz to 90 megahertz. Okay, if you want to play a little bit of Doom and stuff like that, or a little bit of Quake, maybe software in 640 by
like Doom or Quake that you got as a CD-ROM in the mail.
No, dude. The first time I played
3.5-inch
Doom,
floppies, dude.
The first time I played Doom, I was on work experience at a computer nerd store, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to use your modem to download a video game. It's going to be sick." And I almost got like I'm in high school, and they almost like kicked me out because it's like, dude, you're supposed to be fixing You're supposed to be fixing computers for these customers, not playing video games. So I'm like, Doom just came out. Give me a break.
Cut me some slack, for crying out loud.
Right?
See, even the
I remember we used to hand around like bootleg. We used to hand around like bootleg Wolfenstein discs and stuff. And
yeah. Chris gets it. Dirk gets it. Yeah. I think several of us occupy the same cohort of like video game nerds. It's like certain things happen to us at a certain time. We're at a certain age where all these things came online, and that's where we're at right now.
You know, near me is the arcade where Tron was filmed.
That's amazing.
I'll find it for you.
Also,
I remember.
I just invited myself to all this, so if you want me
to
fuck off.
No, we want you to stay.
We're just goofing off.
Seriously, don't feel bad. I invite myself to this channel every day, and I'm just like, yeah, they want me.
That's what it's for.
That's what we do. We just pop in. I remember Wing Commander 2 was like my favorite game for so long, and it was like 8 discs that you had to put in, and then they had like a speech pack that came out that had like 16 more. So you would like your friend would say, "Hey, can I borrow Wing Commander 2?" And you'd have to bring in this stack of discs like with a freaking rubber band around it and let him have it, and then you'd have to take it back.
Did you get in trouble in school?
Oh yeah, because you were walking around with like this big brick of discs. They're like, what are you doing?
Their brick rebel.
Remember when you thought you were badass when you went from just having a single floppy drive to you had both A and B.
Yeah, exactly. I got two.
How about that time when you realized
nothing?
That time that you realized that you could use WinZip to actually like spread things over multiple disks, like multiple floppy disks.
Now here's a question. What was that? What the hell was that? The zip drive.
Zip drive. I had a zip drive.
Yeah,
I totally had a zip drive.
I never had a zip drive. I just
I had a zip drive. What a complete and utter rip off that thing was.
Like, sit down, dude. 100 megabytes.
You guys remember the hard drive?
Respect.
But it was like
for the Amiga.
No,
anyone had that?
Hold on, I have to stop Brisk from making a fool of himself. The zip drive was an amazing capacity at the time because graphics files and a whole entire package, like a whole movie poster, could fit inside of a zip drive easily. Even
but the thing was, it was like proprietary discs, so you could only get them from the zip people. So like they had, if you wanted to use it, you were forced to buy their stuff. And it was like, that always drove me crazy because like I couldn't get anything. It wasn't like buying like a cheap spindle of CDs or something. I could only get the one disc.
Before zip drives were like super handy. You had Jazz drives, which were bigger, thicker, and could lose data. And before that, you had SideQuest, which were like almost tape, right? So for us, the zip drive was like, wow, they put a floppy disk and this large format medium together into one little package. It was like amazing, but it only lasted like 5 years, I think. It's probably a long time.
I remember at the time I was working at a retail store, like a radio equivalent of Radio Shack in Australia. And
what did they call it down there?
It was Tandy, which is the computer that you use.
Yeah.
It was Tandy.
Because Tandy owned Radio Shack.
It was Tandy in Canada and Australia, but it was Radio Shack in America, if I remember correctly. So, same company. But yeah, working in retail in a Tandy store in Australia, which is our version of Radio Shack. But like we had zip disks and we had Jazz drives and stuff like that. And it was just fucking mind-blowing stuff. And we were also selling mobile phones. When people were like, if you weren't a stockbroker, if you were just a person who wanted a mobile phone, you could buy a mobile phone and get on it. All this crazy shit in like the late 90s.
The other day there was an article I was reading, and I mentioned it was about Australia, and it mentioned Woolworths, and my wife goes, Woolworths? And I go, they still have Woolworths. I'm pretty sure it's different, or it's like just a cousin.
Just
of
a happy coincidence, I think.
Good old Woolies.
There you go.
When you were younger, did you get in trouble for doing stuff on computers you shouldn't have been doing, installing games, as I was saying?
Nah. It was one of those things. It was like we're selling compacts and Hewlett Packards and things like that. Tandy computers, the ones that Dick were talking about before, which are actually really good PCs in the 80s, weren't really a thing anymore. Like they'd gone away. That processor died out. Also, I'm going to take this opportunity. If you're interested in this stuff, there's this guy on YouTube, the 8-Bit Guy. Subscribe to his channel. It is
8-Bit Guy's awesome.
I love that dude. He was, fucking COVID. I was going to go, there was at Amsterdam this year, there was going to be this Flashback 2020. It was going to be the 35th anniversary of the Amiga. It was going to be like a massive retro nerd player gathering. And the 8-Bit Guy was going to be there, and like a bunch of other people who were like luminaries from the 8 and 16-bit era of PC games, and it's gone the way of everything else, like FanFest and that sort of stuff. I'm super bummed.
Man, hearing you saying compact. When I was at the university in 1990, 91, 92, 93, I worked at Compact in my days off from university. I used to run in their machines, so basically I used to fill the machines with all the softwares and stuff that was getting sent out to companies. It was generally getting sent to companies. So that's how I used to fulfill my wall, because the grants and stuff like that were no good.
My dream job when I was in high school, and I never got it, was to work at the electronics boutique in the mall. I wanted that job.
Right?
So
Isn't it so
bad.
funny?
When you used to buy the games off the wall.
Exactly. Yeah. I can still remember. And I know this is the dumbest thing ever, but I'll tell you guys this because it's how much of a freaking nerd I am. I can remember walking in that store, looking around, buying Elder Scrolls Arena, like picking it. I know exactly where on the shelves it was, picking it up, taking it, talking to the guy, and the big fat guy behind the counter is like, "Oh, this is one of those games you're really gonna have a long time playing this," and taking it home. I still remember that to this day. Well, that was like 25 years ago.
And it's like, you'd have all these PC games there, and then there'd be the Mac section, which was like 8 titles.
Like, yeah, exactly. And one of them was like, 2 of them were like tax software.
Like, dude, I totally understand. Like, literally, my first job out of high school was at the store that I used to mall rat at in high school, where they sold video games and shit like that. It wasn't like an EB Games or a GameStop or whatever. It was like the mom and pop video game store. But like, literally, my first tax-paying job in the world was at the store I used to hang out in, wishing, oh man, it would be so cool to work in this store.
I think I must have put like 3 applications into that store, and they never called me back.
First games console I got was Christmas 1975. It was a Benetton TV Master Mark IV. Dude, you should have seen this thing. It had a slider for selecting which games. There was only 4 games on it. The later versions of it came out with a gun as well, but the gun was actually about the weight and size of a Luger.
I remember going to that store to buy my first Nintendo. My brother and I had saved up all of our money, and it was like a random day, and I was like, "Ma, how much money have Brad and I saved up for our video game thing?" And she's like, "Well, let me go look." And it was like, "It's $120 you guys have saved up here." And that was like literally 2 years worth of us saving everything we had. And I was like, "Ma, I think the Nintendo's only $110. Can we go to the store?" And we went, and we got it, and that was like one of the highlights of my fucking life when I was a kid.
I feel bad for all the people watching the stream. Like listen to these like epic old.
Yeah, we're old nerds. Old nerds.
It could be a lot worse. If Carneros was in here, it would be a lot worse.
Yeah, really.
I remember when you'd go to Toys R Us and look at the NES games, and they never had any of the games out. All they had were like pieces of paper behind like a little flip up thing where you could see the name of the game and it would tell you a little bit about it, and you had to take the paper up to like this cage in the back where the guy was sitting with all the games so nobody could steal anything.
Since you mentioned Toys R Us, it's like, I'm so old. I remember because I lived outside of New York, and it's like I remember there being commercials on TV for Toys R Us, but there wasn't like a Toys R Us within like 40 miles from us. So it's like you just see the commercials for this cool toy store, and you ain't got one nearby.
I don't know who's actually running the stream right now, but you should totally go on YouTube and look for some old like Commodore 64 ads or something, and just like educate
all these children
about what we thought was exciting back in.
It was, though. I mean, like I think back to like some of those Commodore 64. I'm trying to think. It was like I had AH-64 Apache, I think, for Commodore 64.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It was pretty good.
We used to walk around school.
How many discs was
back in my day?
We used to walk back in my day. We used to walk around school, and the coolest thing, like you'd have these little notepads, like the little tiny, like just like a reporter's notepad kind of thing with the spiral at the top and everything. And guys would sit there and copy down the Mike Tyson's Punch-Out codes for people and hand them out on little pieces of paper so you could take them home and jump to Mike Tyson and get your ass kicked by him like immediately. Like that was like codes, like save game codes in Mega Man 2. We used to do that shit too. That was like the thing.
I'm trying to think. Elite came on diskettes, right?
Yeah,
sure. Absolutely, yeah. Yes.
Probably
yes.
just by one double-side 5 1/4-inch floppy disk. Back when discs used to be floppy, you remember
Actual floppy.
Actual floppy disk.
We're
not talking about 3.5-inch like rigid
no, the
disk.
5 1/4
actual floppy disk.
Yeah, 5 1/4.
My old.
And
where
then
in the USA is Carmen San Diego?
You could eat your dinner off
so much I broke it.
You'd cut a notch in the other side so you could.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
so
exactly.
You know
you had to cut the notch in the other side.
You know something I've been into recently. Like this is mostly been before I moved to Iceland, but for like the 6 or 8 months before I came here, I massively got into like the nostalgic habit of collecting old school big box PC games. And there's a huge market for those right now. Like the nostalgia, you've gotten to the point where like the guys like you and I, who are probably in our like late 30s, early 40s, in that spectrum, now have some disposable income and want to like buy into the nostalgia, are like forming Facebook groups, going on eBay, and like trying to buy and trade old school PC games, DOS games, even Commodore 64 games, and some of these things like fucking Secret of Monkey Island. You're going to pay 120 to 150 bucks for a good copy
Such a
of those
good
games,
game.
right? And it's like it's now like collecting old like mint comic books from the 50s. You know
Yeah,
what I
it
mean?
is.
Like
Yeah, I think I
nerds that
saw. I think I saw someone selling their entire old Commodore 64 kit, and it was a small fortune that he got for it.
Yeah,
I mean that's the thing. I would totally buy. I would totally buy a old computer just to be able to play like Wing Commander 2 the old
yeah.
way. I
Well,
would love to do that.
Risk, this is exactly what I did. I bought a 486 DX266. It was like a Japanese import to Australia, which ran on 110 volts like America. So I had to buy a transformer so I could actually plug it into my wall
Wow.
socket and play it. But I've got like from a friend, I got like a 15-inch flat screen CRT monitor. I got a Roland MT32, which I paid 250 bucks for on eBay, which is like an old like 1998 DOS synthesizer and all this kind of crazy shit. It's a massive market right now for like tragic nerds like us.
Do you remember?
Is Monkey Island worth $150?
Say again?
Is Monkey Island worth $150?
Like a mint version of Monkey Island, yeah, you'll pay out the
Oh,
ass for
man.
that. Like 150 bucks US is not unreasonable. Well, it's unreasonable, but it's not unusual to pay for
I've got
a
that.
mint copy of the like DOS box, even if it's on 3.5, 5.25 inch, whatever. You're sitting on a gold mine. It
I've
rocks.
got
Well,
that.
that's
I've got
why
Day
I
of the Tentacle. I've got Zork.
Dude, that shit. Yeah,
oh
Got a
that's
man,
in
lot.
the
that's
slot.
awesome.
That is in
Now
the
I'll tell you,
slot.
I love the fact that you've got like GOG and other these groups that put the old games out and
Oh,
and
big
they
time.
optimize them and stuff. Because I have like all the old Wing Commanders and stuff that I can play on my PC. It's just not the same, you know.
Well, so friends, just so you know, the Internet Archive, the website that does the Wayback Machine,
Mm-hmm.
they also have a DOS software archive. And there's an emulator you can download and install on your PC and run called DOSBox.
Mm-hmm.
There's a particularly good version of that called the DOSBox Enhanced Community Edition, DOSBox ECE. Google that. You can download that and you can install it, and you can go on to the Internet Archive, into their software archive, and you can find virtually any DOS video game and play it on DOSBox ECE, and it just like the memories come flooding back.
Do you remember what the hell was it? That Nibbler software or Fast Hack'em or whatever, where you could like copy a game disc and like break the security, what limited security it had on.
That is like legit C64 shit, the Fast Hack'em and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I used to hate some of the bullshit that they used to put in. Like I remember one of my favorite games was Silent Service. It was an old
submarine game,
Microprose game, and it would like require you to have the instruction manual and say type in page 24 of the manual, line 3, this 26. Word. You're like, God, what the fuck?
Hold on, you want to beat Botters in EVE Online?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, actually, no, we should go even more advanced than that. We should have the code wheel. Do you remember the code wheel?
The code wheel,
where you're like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Do that. Forget the manual code protection. But Brisk is so cool you mentioned that, because like just the other day, I went through my storage box because the whole Half-Life Alyx thing, I was like, holy shit, I need to find my Oculus Rift so I can play this. I went to my storage and I was digging through it, and I found the box that had all of my old school PC games in it, and amongst them was Silent Service 2.
Hey, that was
Convict?
such a good game.
I have an idea. We could do some sort of collusion. How about you get those old games and get the devs to actually play them, and then also get them to watch Netflix, where Hunt for Red October is actually out. So we might actually get some cool scanning designs into the game.
Oh man, I'll tell you.
No, you know what you need to do? You need to walk into Team Security's office the next time they're open, and be like, I had this really cool idea for this, for this code wheel that might be something we can use to stop botting and eating.
That Secret Service, that Silent Service game. Another anecdote.
They were
You guys
so
love
good.
hearing old brisk stories. I played that game so much. I would go into into the computer room and I would turn the lights off and pretend I was in the submarine so bad that I got a D in math in 6th grade, and my dad flipped out and took the game away from me for 2 months until I got my grade up to an A.
No, man, I hear that.
And that was the longest 2 months of my fucking life.
I love Silent Service 2 because it was a Pacific Theater warfare thing, and like two of the bases you could dock at were Darwin and Brisbane. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Places I've lived in. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And then I can go out into the Pacific.
I have to ask Brisk something. How much Ports of Call did you play?
I never got into it.
Oh my god, it was so good. It was like massively good. It was one of the best trading shipping games I've ever played. I would love to have something like that again.
Like I remember before that, the games that I would play like that. I used to play Ancient Art of War at Sea all the time. That was such a freaking good game.
You ever play Harpoon?
I would play. Of course, Harpoon was like a classic.
So good.
Harpoon 2 was good too. That was crazy. I mean, they were just some of those games. Like you look at them now, and you're like staring at a black screen. That was another Microprose
submarine game.
Man, anything Microprose made, I was like, I gotta get that.
The original Pirates.
Pirates was great. The first one.
God.
Any Sid Meier game back then was great. F-15 Strike Eagle. Oh my god, that was so good.
There's a current game on Steam right now called I think it's called U-Boat or something like that, which kind of it's like, you know how like did you ever play the Silent Hunter games? Like they,
I did. I didn't like them as much because I'll be bluntly honest, and this is going to sound really stupid, but I can't. I'm a merchant marine guy. I can't kill my own people. I can't be a fucking German guy. I just can't. I can't do it.
Well,
I can't play it.
Silent Hunter 4 was like an American submarine in the Pacific. But there's like a U-Boot game right now. There's actually 2 really sick games on Steam right now. There's U-Boot, which is basically like a spiritual successor to the War in the Atlantic of like Silent Hunter and all that sort of stuff. And there's another one called Iron Wolf VR, which is a VR game where you're on a U-boat in the Pacific during the Second World War. Check both of those out. They're fucking cool. I'm a massive submarine nerd. I can't understand.
Oh, me
I can't
too.
overstate that too much.
I wanted to do submarines in the Navy, but I was too tall and my math skills were really bad. I went on a sub. We had a tour for a day, and I think I hit my head like 5 times. I was like, I can't do this.
What class?
It was the USS Scranton. It was a 688 LA class.
So it's LA class. Yep.
I just was like, all right, this was not built for guys my height.
Are you saying that you couldn't become a submarine guy because you spent too much time playing submarines when you were a kid and failed?
Pretty much. That's exactly right. Now the Navy when I was in the Navy, they wanted mathematicians. They did not want politicians. So if I wanted to go nuke, there was just no way. I was like, with my calculus grades and my engineering grades, they were really bad.
Well, every submarine in the US Navy is nuked, right? So you didn't really have much choice.
Right.
You could have maybe gone on a boomer with a bit more headspace, but it wouldn't have worked out.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. I would have had to have at some point probably ended up doing some kind of a tour in a fast attack, and it would have been bad. Just the racks. I looked at the rack and I was like, I don't know how I would sleep in this thing.
Yeah,
it's too too small.
You want to snuggle up with a torpedo? It's only 2 foot taller than you.
Yeah, not good.
All right, friends, I'm going to pull the pin and leave you here.
Yeah, I'm going to do that too.
It's been nice to hang out and chat, even though I invited myself. I hope not too many viewers dialed out because we're talking to too much old school nerd.
Yeah, but what was the first MP3 player you had? I'm kidding.
Oh, dude, it was Rio. What was it? Fuck, who
Yeah,
made
it was. I can't remember the name of the. No, the Nomad was the.
It was something
creative.
Rio. Yeah, it was a Rio MP3 player. That was it. It was like had 32 megabytes of space, which is like enough for like 2 albums. Anyway, I'm done. I could talk about this shit all night, but I'm out of here. All right, friends. See you later.
Take care, Convict.
Yeah, hey, Convict, what are you doing up there? Like, what's going on the island?
Oh, okay. You mean like from internet spaceships, like actual
No.
what I do for a living?
Well, because you're working from home, right? So it's
pretty much everyone's working from home right now. It's actually working super well too. Because we work in a tech company. Even before this all started, we were pretty well connected. We're on Slack and Microsoft Teams and things like that. To be honest, apart from being at home, there hasn't been any significant interruption, as far as I can tell, in terms of the workflow, what everyone is doing. Last few days, I've just felt the need to go out for walks, clean my head, and get out into open spaces and things like that. Just tonight, myself and CCP Sledgehammer, we were in the kitchen smashing out some pulled pork burgers and things. So it's kind of a drag being stuck at home, which I think is probably what everyone feels right now. But in terms of getting internet spaceships delivered to your door, I don't think there's been a significant disruption in the plans that we had all along.
he's gonna be like, we don't need this new building.
Well, it's going to be funny because you know what? Honestly, with that side of things, I don't think it's just going to affect us. It's probably going to affect everyone. Like this is probably going to be like a really, really significant moment for businesses all over the world when it comes to how their staff work remotely and who needs to be there to do things and all these kinds of things. So, shit, man, like who knows what the complexion of corporate business life is going to be 6-12 months from now. Could be really, really interesting. Could be a big change.
Yep.
I mean, it sucks. It sucks that it took this to bring that on, but like there may be some learnings to take away from it.
Well, that's just it, right? I mean, it's always going to basically take something like this to sit there and go, well, geez, how would we be able to operate if the entire company couldn't show up?
Yeah, right. And kind of that's where we are, and not just us as CCP, but like companies all over the globe. Obviously, there are industries and businesses that can't do these sort of things, like face-to-face service, restaurants, cafes, things like that. Supermarkets that rely on people with like face-to-face handling and things. But for a company that just relies on a bunch of nerds using computers all day anyway, let's see how this plays out.
I saw a news article about a bartender. So the bars are shut down. So what the bartenders are doing is virtual bartending, where they stream live and they teach people how to make drinks, and the people can then tip the bartender.
Yeah, and I've seen the math teacher using Half-Life Alex to sort of like do his maths lesson. And even here in Iceland, I'm sure everywhere else, a lot of a lot of businesses, cafes, restaurants, and so forth, like, oh well, no one's coming in anymore, so we'll do home delivery, we'll do takeaway from the door, and all these kinds of things. Like, yeah, there's going to be a lot to take away from this entire experience. 6, 12, 18 months from now, like the world might actually be legitimately a different place in terms of how we do business and how we understand how to do business.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about that. Sometimes it takes events like this, right? A company's not just going to push out people to go do this because they don't know how it's going to work out. They know how they can deal with it on kind of a limited basis, which I think is one of the things that a lot of companies out there had to figure out over the course of the last few weeks, right? Absolutely. When all of a sudden at one time, everybody is hitting their network at once from the outside, they've just really had to, figure that out. But now that they have, in a lot of cases, most cases, I would hope, Now that they have, and they begin to see that they can continue to function pretty damn well and just need to work out some kinks and things, yeah, they may come back and go, why do we have all of these offices all over the place?
Exactly. That too. And not only the way we work, which like this is something I used to talk about a lot when in my previous life before I started working in like for CCP and video games and stuff. It's like I used to work in politics, and it was one of those things where it's like if you invented democracy today, like the whole complexion of things, representative democracy, having chambers of parliament or the House of Representatives and things like that, they wouldn't be a thing. They're an artifact of an old time when you needed to elect a representative to go to a place to speak on your behalf because you didn't have the capacity to like directly communicate, which we now have. And it's also going to be interesting during this period as people figure out whose roles actually matter to them on a day-to-day basis. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, because there are a lot of people who have positions in society, and when it comes down to like the brass tacks of what do I need, what roles do I need filled day to day to get through my life, this whole experience might actually sort of illuminate to a lot of society that, these certain roles aren't really as important as we thought they were because their absence didn't actually have an impact on our lives during this period.
Yep. No question.
Anyway, I shouldn't stray into that areas because I've got a
Well,
CCP.
good thing Brisk isn't here.
Yeah. No, that's okay. No, I've got a lot of time for Brisk. Yeah, he's all right.
But you could kind of argue. You could argue the opposite, right? Because right now, in a crisis situation, you need something like proper government.
Oh, you need representation. It's just the mechanism that we use for it. It's about 200 years old.
Who needs a proper government? Stop.
Yeah.
I mean, we all don't have to go in a room and with one person with a gavel that shouts order.
Hey, but that's entertaining.
It is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's theatre. Well, thanks for coming on, Convict.
No worries, guys. I got to moonwalk out.
So now we know how to get Convict around. Just start talking old schooly.
Yeah, man. Old
schooly shit.
Moth the Flame. Mention the Commodore 64, a SID 6581, or an MS 6502 processor, and I'll be there.
We're going to make a marathon show and put Carneros and you in the same room and just let it roll.
Commodore 64 stations.
All right. See you, dudes.
Yeah. I mean, when Carneros gets talking and he's like, he's like in the way back machine. Like he's literally back into, halt and catch fire time.
He soldered his own things himself. Isn't that the point?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like crazy.
What do you mean by RAM? You make it yourself. You get your soldering iron out and then you just start building.
Which Pentium? What was it? The Pentium 3 that was the vertical. It was like the big brick processor that stood up on its side.
Oh yeah, the one that was like
that the Pentium 3?
A few millimeters thick. It was horrible. Yeah, I remember that one. 3 or 4. Yeah, that sounds about right.
No, it might have been earlier, Dirk. Might have been.
No, it was it. No, it was the. The Pentium 2.
2, yeah.
I just remember having a processor with an MMX with MMX was like some kind of bragging right.
I remember when you could hack your CPU. When you bought those, do you remember the Celeron chipset where they had actually handicapped them?
Matterall?
They had handicapped them by cutting a few connectors, and then you could take a very a thick or soft pencil, and then you could just draw them back.
Yeah, pencil. Yeah. The graphic in it.
I was to get the high frequency one, the over throttled one, because they were not tested to those specs. So then you just re-entered them, and and said, "Fuck it, I trust the quality. It's fine. If it burns, it burns."
You could do that with the AMDs as well. You could uncap them.
I trust the quality of this graphite.
Yeah, the Pentium 2 processor was that big ass like freaking cartridge almost. Yeah, and then the Pentium 3 went back to the other one. Pentium dual core. Oh man, some of this stuff is, well, I was about ready to say classic, but of course it is.
I remember dreaming of a 486.
Then what was it? What was the one where it came out with the MMX? Remember MMX?
Yeah, MMX was like a bragging right, dude.
Yeah, that was like video side stuff, right?
Pentium 200 MMX. I remember having one of those.
You remember how much money we spent on high-end sound chipsets?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Sound Blaster stuff.
Sound Blaster.
Oh, there was such a rip-off.
Oh, and I guess there were Pentium 3s.
There was
were also the big thing. Like they had there was like,
I think one of the games that I spent an absorbent amount of time playing was the like original version of SimCity, like black and white.
That was
top
awesome.
down.
Maybe Q1 and Q2 of the Pentium 3, Dirk.
Yeah, there were like a couple different versions of the Pentium 3.
Yeah.
I think they still had kind of like a Pentium 2 version of it, and then the 3 went off into being just a little square thing.
I also remember the original version of Civilization.
Yeah.
That was still a fucking good game.
It was a good game.
It was.
Same with SimCity. It's amazing. That's why I'm saying we need SimCity like design for PI and needs to be on the tablet. Then I would play that all day, every day.
I used to print like when I was super young, when I was really young, like making like cities in SimCity. I like print my SimCity like cities out. Don't know why.
What about Populous?
That was cool.
You can't out nerd us with I printed out my city.
Was there any Sid Meier game that wasn't great?
No, I don't think so. Maybe some of the later ones were a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm talking like back, when he was like this premier. Like
the classics were all good.
Didn't he make Pirates?
Yeah, and what's the other guy? Peter Molyneux.
There was a super old Dune game that I remember I used to play.
Great strategy game. Excellent. Strategy as in turn-based.
Well, the Sid Meier stuff, yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
But you could also have said that was there ever an SSI game that was not great? And I'm pretty sure that with all the point-and-click adventure games I played, the Sierra logo is like burned on my fucking retina forever.
Yeah, Sierra Studios is pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, Spotamane. Yeah, the first actual like real MP3 player. Well, it wasn't MP3, but yeah, it was definitely the first Apple iPod. I still have my freaking iPod 3 video around here somewhere. I used to use it just for going to the gym with. Like it would still work, and I'm like, okay, if I drop this or whatever, I kind of don't care, but. Then it just started looking bad.
And I had a mini disc player at one point.
I remember back. remember back when I had a BlackBerry, right? Okay, so I had my cell phone, okay, and the first one I had was a Motorola StarTAC, okay, but then I remember when I went to work in the city and they gave me a BlackBerry. And I'm like, oh man, this is the fucking best. It's got a keyboard on it. I could totally type a whole paper on this damn thing. This is outstanding.
Yeah, you had that little trackball-y thing. That
had the little trackball
was basically
thing on
like
it.
A mouse. So you kind of almost felt like you were using a mini computer in your hand. Like
when they got rid of that trackball thing, I was pissed. I'm like, man, that was the best, even if it got a little gummed up once in a while. But and then they were talking about these things with these touch screens. I'm like, I don't need a damn touch screen. Who the hell needs a damn touch screen? That's just going to get broken. And now I'm like, damn, fucking touch screen is nice, man. This is amazing.
Because everyone's getting concerned about cracking their screen all the time.
That's one of the reasons I'm holding on to my IBM Transnote in case it actually becomes some sort of valuable collector's item.
Yeah, I've got a couple of early iPhones upstairs that it's not even that we have them for collector's items or anything like that, because they certainly won't be, I'm sure. But
backup phones.
Well, it's more just okay, we just didn't have to turn there was no trade-in back then or whatever, so it was just kind of okay, here it is.
Well, the Transnote was a prototype thing that was put into a limited production, right? It was one of the first things ever with a touchscreen. It had a 11-inch or 14-inch screen that just clicks back and over the keyboard. It's an amazing little machine. And then you had the writing thing that picked up the writing from your notepad and then digitized it and put it onto your computer. It was quite a cool little machine. But yeah, way too early. It was 10, 20 years too early.
I worked at this place when I was in high school. It was called Crazy Eddie's. Anyways, electronics store, right? And I remember, what was it at the time? It was this. It was this thing with a built-in keyboard and a screen, a small screen, but it was really just kind of a typewriter, but you could type in stuff. I think it was made. Shit, it may have been made by Magnavox or whatever. I don't know.
Talking about the Sidekick?
No. It's a bit. It was a word processor, but not a computer-based word processor. It was more just a higher-end typewriter.
Yeah,
I think I've seen one of those before. But yeah,
it was made by many, but Brother was one of the companies that made those.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where Brother came out of. Yeah,
I remember having one of those. It was early in college, and I put it in demo mode to show my mom, right? Because I was like, "Hey, check this out!" And I put a paper in, and I put demo, and it would just type out this whole thing. And she was looking at me like, "Are you doing that with your brain? How are you doing that?" She had no idea.
Yes, I am.
That's what I said. Yes. So don't mess with me, Mom. Don't care about going to church anymore. Look what I can do without God.
Yeah, I mean, it was when the Sony Walkman came out. It's I didn't have a Sony Walkman. I had some, rip-off version of it or whatever. Then I remember when they shrank that down. And then when they came out with the portable CD player you could wear on your belt.
The CD player I never got because I think the CDs were too scratched up or something. But I used the heck out of the Walkman or the Walkman knockoffs, the cassette players.
Yeah, I had an Iowa or whatever, and I thought I was the shit just for having that because it was it was only slightly bigger than a cassette.
Yeah. I was so sad when those things would die because they would just keep flipping sides. And it was sad because it was clearly beyond your ability to fix.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a clock radio and it was really a bad cassette player. It would sometimes speed it up, sometimes slow it down. I was just like, this is really lousy. So I opened it up.
What were those pictures that you just had of those word processor?
Oh yeah, let me go back to that. This is what you were talking about. This would be early 90s, late 80s.
No, I think it's like the one more towards the. It was like all one unit, yeah, and it had like paper coming out of the top of it and whatnot.
Like this one.
And it's like
so not an Amstrad.
It's like, what the hell, man? It was just this high tech ass typewriter. Yeah, like that.
No, but check the images I just put in of the Transnode, and that was a 2001 machine with pretty much, futuristic tech. It would take forever for it to actually come into normal use, right? Especially the touchscreen thing.
Well, this looks like the IBM ThinkPad.
They are models from the ThinkPad series. It's just with the touchscreen and with the conversion of actual writing into a scanned version. It was a really fucking cool machine. I got a little bit addicted to it because I kept using it so much. And when you start using a touchscreen like that, and you keep clicking with your finger, and then you get a normal laptop, and you just keep clicking on people's screens, like, oh no, that's right, your shit can't do that.
You know what I liked about IBM's ThinkPads before they were sold to whoever they are now?
Lenovo.
Yeah, Lenovo. I like that little red dot.
Yes, that was amazing.
I always felt it was a little,
AKA clit.
Yeah, I always thought it was a little.
So my father was a cop, and they were installing a 911 system in the police station, and he was somehow, or he still didn't know, but whatever. He gets put in charge of being the liaison with the computer company that was doing it, and it was a company called Wang, and they were basically freaking mainframes, like big ass disks, like, I don't know, 18 inches around and shit like that. Whatever. He ends up putting this in, and then he ends up being basically like kind of the tech liaison police officer guy at the headquarters and whatnot. And he was given a laptop. Okay, so because he had to have a laptop because he'd be moving around and everything else was just connected to this mainframe and all this kind of stuff. This laptop was like carry-on luggage. It was like it was like 10 inches thick. The screen folded down. The keyboard folded down, and like the screen was there, but I still remember
the screen was a CRT still.
I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school, so this would have been like 84, 85 or something like that. I would work on this to then print off a paper on our dot matrix printer.
Yes, here's my first laptop. That's actually my first laptop. That's not my picture of it, but that's the same model it was. And the keyboard you could pull off of it. Just to give you references to it.
Yeah, man, those freaking early. And chances are, like, on the inside, it was like all battery.
Well, yeah, the whole thing was a battery.
Bunch of freaking D cells all put together.
It was a little brick, and that thing there in the little thing in the middle there on the face, the side facing you is actually it's a, what do you call it? It's a hand grip, so you could pull it out like luggage and carry it. So closed, it was like a little brick.
That's like just like cell phones, like, right, here we're talking about batteries for for laptops and shit like that, but like, yeah, I mean, look back where I'll just say battery packs with cell phones and stuff like that. If you go back and you one of my favorite movies, because it felt like it was just sort of current at the time or whatever, Romy and Michelle's high school reunion, when they're like, and we got a flip phone, and it's like this big ass thick battery on the back of it.
Let's look at flip phones. You know what I remember? The first cell phone was Wall Street. I saw it in Wall Street, the movie.
Oh, yeah, when he's out on the beach.
Yeah, we're like, wow, that guy's rich.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we just take a moment and think back on when the Matrix movie came out and everyone wanted that fucking Nokia phone?
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't think I've ever wanted something so much, and then it couldn't actually do what it did in the movie. It's like, oh my god!
3 foot antenna.
Why isn't it spring loaded?
Yeah.
Yep. That was the later one, and it didn't fucking work. It was crap.
Well, and the best part is, okay, so Michael Douglas with that phone, right? It's like even just your cordless phones at home were basically that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those
big
those aerials on the cordless phone at home.
Now, the thing is, I started working in Los Angeles not long after this movie was made. And those kinds of phones were actually on set. There was a 1 or 2 per set. So it was always like, wow, I've really made it. And these things were gigantic.
Exactly. You were a baller.
I was just
that
weird.
one was a game changer, right? That was when they actually became proper portable instead of those car things you were talking about earlier, right? The ones where you had to carry around that car battery underneath it.
Like Ice-T videos. You a gangster. Oh yeah, no, I was saying that before about how it was like my father-in-law in his Lincoln Town car, his big boxy ass Lincoln Town car, had the phone like in the console, but like all the equipment for it was in the trunk, and it was like this huge ass box mounted to the side of the trunk.
Yeah,
and then the big old antenna coming off the back of
that's right,
coming off the back of the car like you were Smokey and the Bandit running a CB. I mean, okay, so it's what I'm going to say, because people go, oh, you're so old, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you what, like those of us who are around my age, like, Brisk's a few years younger than I am and whatnot, but like we saw like the evolution of technology just in a crazy, like right now, like things seem to be sort of enhancements to what, kind of already exists in a lot of these things. Right. But like, even just when you talk about music, right, having gone from, records, luckily I didn't give a shit about 8-tracks. I was too young at that, to cassettes, to CDs.
From physical vinyl, like vinyls, right? Like
right.
Literal physical media.
To CDs, to ripping CDs and trading it on Napster for free until Metallica got all mad at to them finally getting some digital rights management, to now it's like, just get a streaming service. And the worst part was, right? The worst part along those ways were deciding, well, I've got these albums, which cassettes do I want to have? Oh shit, I've got these cassettes. Which CDs do I want to replace that with? Oh shit, which ones do I want to download?
Which like
shit.
And like
now I don't care. Now I don't even care about my music library now.
How do I rip these CDs onto iTunes?
Yeah, exactly. You're sitting there just like, like, God, the nights of just sitting there downloading from Napster, and what was the other one? Lime something?
LimeWire, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's just in kind of the music category, right? And of course, you talk about, well, the hardware, right? Going from the Walkman when it came out and what a freaking revolution that was, and and then like the CD man, and just kind of up the line to where it's now I mean, I remember walking around with a freaking iPod in my pocket and a telephone in my pocket and sitting there going, I don't need a phone that can also have music on it. And now I sit there and go, really? I swear to God, every step along the way, I'm sitting there going, I don't need that. And then once you get it, you're like, fuck, how did I ever live without this?
What a really
you know,
jacket for all your devices.
It's like I don't need. I can have all of my music on my phone. Like I don't need to like stream music to my phone. Oh hell yeah, I can stream music to my phone.
I remember my daughter, she's like 8 years old, going, I need a cell phone. I'm like, you don't need a cell phone. You're 8 years old. You ain't got no reason for a cell phone. How old were you when you got your first cell phone? I'm like, girl, I was 29 years old. Do you want to wait? I'm like, don't you ask me. I'm telling you to wait. I'm telling you to wait a couple of years. You can wait until I got my first one, though. Because that shit was crazy. Like, and I'm not even with that big giant phone type thing and what, plans were like and all that kind of stuff. But like, even years later, it was like, you were counting the minutes you were on the phone with somebody being like, yo, you're burning up my plan. Yeah, then of course
having to basically be like, I can't speak any longer. Like you're gonna have to call me on my landline.
Yeah. Oh man, it's like
so nowadays, someone you hear the landline go, and you're like, oh my god, who the fuck is calling us?
I mean, I remember here in America where in-state long distance was like tons more expensive than out of state, because out of state was carried by like AT&T, which had the monopoly, at the time, but it wasn't bad because they had regulated them and shit like that. But in state, you had these different phone companies and shit like that. So if you dialed in-state long distance, I think it was like, what the hell was I? I was like 12 years old. I met this girl at summer camp. I came back from summer camp and was like upstairs talking to her every night on the phone. She was from a different part of the state. I ran up like a freaking $400 phone bill in 1 month, and my mother shit herself.
Literally went completely mental on you.
Yeah, seriously, it was like $400 back in like 82, 83 or something like that. It's like, it was absolutely ridiculous.
I had almost the same experience when I got my first proper internet connection dial-up. I was, of course, still living at home, and I would cable the everything, so it was basically going around a normal phone. And I ran up a telephone bill of something along £600 in 1 month. And my dad just had a fucking fit, and he just came in and he physically cut my fucking wire. The problem was he was cutting the wire to the phone, which was basically going into the modem, and then the actual cable was going into the wall. So he had actually not disconnected me from the internet. And I was almost laughing, but I kind of caught on that he was actually really mad, so I shouldn't really laugh at him at that point.
Hold on. Straight up true story. I was sitting on the shitter. My mother slams through the door. She's like, what the hell? Like what the hell is this? 400. She cashed in all my savings bonds from when I was born, and like people gave savings bonds and shit like that. Like, honestly, I had to pay for that shit out of my future. Like, I'm sitting there going, what? She's like, a $400 phone bill. Who are you calling in Hartford? I'm like, huh? I had no idea. Yeah, I didn't know what in-state long distance was. I learned real quick though.
Yeah, just a bit.
Oh man, just it's and again, just how fucking different things, and I don't even mean like how different they were from like 1800 to 1830. I'm sure like when somebody invented the freaking electric refrigerator or whatever, that was totally fucking cool and whatnot. Which I'm sure was goddamn life changing. Don't get me wrong.
Put my family out of business.
Were they ice delivery people?
No, they were cowboys. They moved cattle around.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's like, damn, it's like. Now, what is also amazing, so like my grandparents, so my grandparents, when they were born, so that would have been about 1900, they literally were in a wagon with horses going across Texas, and both of them were towards the end of their life, riding on an airplane. So I mean, obviously, like different generations see different things. I'm not sure that right now, if you were born in say 2000, like my daughter, that she's going to necessarily see, I don't know, space travel. Maybe.
Yeah, talking about that, my grandmother, she was born in the Andes, so they were comparatively backward when she was born. Her mother, in order to look after her, used to tie her to a tree with a vine and sort of tend the farm, right? And by the end of her life, there's cell phones, there's computers, there's planes, there's supersonic travel, there's all this stuff. I mean, that's a big change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say, in some ways, they saw like big, huge change, right? It wasn't as fast coming and whatnot, but they certainly saw big, huge, monumental kind of shifts, as opposed to I'll call it more incremental change, but much faster.
Yeah, but I suspect that the sort of generations that are young now, by the time they get to our age, is going to be a huge difference.
Hopefully, yeah, right. I mean, hopefully they do have shifts like that, to where it's like, wow, okay, yeah, things are, it's like you almost wish you can go like forward in time, and hear your own child or grandchild be like, man, shit's so much different now than when I was.
Yeah, they'll be having the same argument.
Just take a minute to remember that there was a photo series on, I think it was The Guardian, about the reign of the Queen, right? When she was young, when she had just been coronated, and she was out looking at stuff in the countryside, everything was still being done with horse in front of stuff. Everything. No tractors yet.
Crowned.
Back when tractors was a real novelty, right? So this is why I was joking with Dirk the other night when we were talking about economy and changes in technology, that 90% or 95% of all horses have pretty much been killed over that period, so just before the war, right?
Okay, folks, I'm going to take off. Take care.
Night, Eric.
Good night. I'm going to have to do the same, I'm afraid.
This episode of Talking Stations has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah, that ended up being a bit of a marathon.
Slightly.
It was great to listen to, though.
Yeah, I'm going to bail as well. Night, guys.
All right, buddy.
You out, Caleb?
well, if people are kind of slowing down and not really talking, I thought I might as well go and look at some homework. But
oh no, I just I had to walk away for a second, but whatever.
Well, this particular show best not go on for too long because otherwise we're going to start cutting into the midweek.
Oh yeah, when does that come on?
In like 2 hours.
Oh yeah, no, we're not. No, dinner's cooking.
Oh yeah, it's dinner time. You're on your side.
Yep. Oh, it is kind of. I don't know. I was just saying to my wife, I go, "You hear this conversation over here?" I go, "We're old."
Slightly getting there. The when you were doing the rant about kids and phones, I was also remembering that I would never have given mine a mobile phone until they got into at least their teens, late teens.
Yeah, it got really hard like that. Like, I want to say to some extent that was like the plan. Because I said to my daughter, I'm like, you don't need a cell phone until you need it for something. I'm like, you're never anywhere where we're not, so therefore you don't need one. She's like, well, so-and-so has one. I go, so-and-so plays sports after school and needs to be able to communicate with her, parent about whether or not it's, it's over early or whatever. I go, you don't have a reason for that. And then it kind of like began where she would get our hand-me-down iPhones or whatever. And then somewhere along the line, it transitioned to where she was the one getting the new one. And like we were getting the hand-me-down or the trade-in. Yeah. I'm like, wait a second. How the hell did this happen?
She did a reversal on you guys without you noticing.
Well, because it got to be one of those things where it's like, oh, I don't care if I've got a 4. It's fine. This is like when the 6 or the 7 was out. So. Well, yeah. And then the con, and now the con has become, oh, well, I'll pay for it myself. And then like, that doesn't quite happen.
Oh, did she do the whole kind of, well, you're going to get an upgrade anyway. You might as well get the upgrade and I'll use it and you can carry on with your normal one.
Kids are tough, man.
Well played.
To be honest, I was kind of amused and entertained when then my daughter was with her gamer boyfriend and they were trying to be internet savvy and edgelordy, and I was like, Jesus Christ, guys, I was doing that shit like 10, 15 years ago.
It's hard telling your kid no, So like, we've got one kid, right? So it's kind of like it's hard telling them no, even when like you're like, I don't want her to have this at this age because I don't want her to become you abuse it or any of those things, right? And then like you're looking around and every other freaking kid she's going to school with has got these. And I'm sitting there going,
well, now she's of the age where she might actually start trying to nick your Tito's, right?
No, she doesn't.
Ain't happening.
Luckily, she doesn't like the freaking Tito's, but no, I mean, she's now at the age where she's borderline legal for that, and it's just it's really quite annoying. Although even though I remember what it was like, and this is one of the things I always try and tell her, it's like I remember what it was like when I was back in high school, and like hiding drinking when you're out with your friends and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there going, okay, that was really stupid of us. But like, I want to say to some extent, every freaking generation does it. But they go to parties when they're in high school and
trying to sneak into the home, being really fucking drunk. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like I said, my dad was a cop, so when my dad set a curfew, like that's my senior year in high school. I think my curfew was like midnight on the weekend or something like that. I can tell you right now, if I was not home no later than 5 after midnight, his car was not there when I got home. He was out looking for where the normal hangouts, for the high school kids and stuff like that. And I would like come to the door. My mother's like, don't even come inside. Just sit on the front step and wait for your father. It'll be worse if you make him come inside looking for you. Times have changed. It's you know, and it's much harder now to like, you know, I want to say, you know, keep your kids from seeing and doing things and all that kind of shit, because so much availability is just available at their fingertips. Whereas we were joking the other day with some other people about the fact of, man, when I was a kid growing up, if you wanted to know what your friend was doing, you know what you did? You got on your bike and you went over to his house and knocked on the door and said, "Yo, is Bobby around?"
Yeah.
You know, and now they're just like completely interconnected, you know, to the point where it's like they know where the hell they're all at every given moment. If somebody was talking about you, you know, talking shit about you, you didn't know it because you weren't there. But now it's like they're just posting it up on social media talking about your ass.
Yeah, let's agree that that's also one of the reasons why you don't really want to give your 14-year-old daughter a phone with a camera.
Yeah, there is that as well. I remember when one of her friends, and they both went to freaking Catholic school together and whatnot, got in trouble for that. And then the minute she was at college, like this friend got her fake ID, and I'm like, you never getting a fake ID. I'm gonna tell you right now, you get busted with a fake ID, that's gonna ruin your shit. I go, and I'm gonna tell you right now, you know she's gonna get busted. Shit, I remember getting ripped off in New York City trying to buy a freaking fake ID. I don't know. Didn't late 80s, 42nd Street. I didn't know any better. I was just a dumb white kid from the suburbs.
Before you became a master of the universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. No, you disappeared for a little bit there, Matterall, and it's like, because Matterall and I are the same age, so like he can relate, but from a different coast. You know, kind of the things we saw.
Completely different coast. We saw the car.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna tell you right now, like growing up on the East Coast, different than growing up on the West Coast.
Complete Miami Vice or Depeche Mode.
Miami Vice.
Yeah, it's more like Depeche Mode than Miami Vice.
It needs a.
Well, you were aiming for Depeche Mode. Problem was you were too vanilla, so you ended up at Vanilla Ice.
Oh man, I saw Vanilla Ice play a club in Daytona for spring break.
Oh my gosh.
He still does shows? God.
No, he didn't. I don't know what. No, right now I think he's just like into whatever construction or some shit. But no, I mean like back when he was kind of just getting big, and he was playing freaking some drunk ass freaking $10 all you can drink, you know, bar during spring break.
You saw him before he was big.
He was just because he had Ice Ice Baby was out, but he was still kind of playing. Well, he probably got paid a lot of money to like play freaking Daytona spring break back then.
Yeah, he probably did. It was probably a good gig. Who did I see? One of my first concerts was 1983. I saw Loverboy.
Loverboy was my first. Loverboy was like my first not a 45 full album.
Mine was Night Ranger. And
I remember being at the record store to buy Van Halen in 1984. I was like one of the first in line.
Oh, damn.
I think.
Yeah, I wish I still had these things.
I think one of my first album purchases was Madonna's True Blue. And actually, I think at the same time, I bought my first Justice for All.
Justice for All from Metallica?
Yeah, of course.
I knew it.
I remember. I remember
such an amazing album.
I remember rushing home from high school to watch the MTV video premiere of Like a Virgin, because it was like it always happened in the afternoon. They wanted the kids to get home and all that kind of shit. And it's like everybody freaking rushed home, and it's like this thing came on, and you like dialed up your friends, going like, "Oh my god, can you believe this video?" I don't just mean about the Madonna one, but I do like when Thriller came out and shit. It's like back when MTV played music.
Yeah, it played Thriller like every 2 hours, every hour.
Yeah, MTV in kind of those early years was pretty funny because like the rotation was not big at all. Right?
If you didn't have cable, interestingly enough, there was a channel called M3. And it was like, I don't know, it was on your normal TV, but you would always get it with static. So it must have been from a big city or something. I should look that up, M3.
Now I was saying to these guys that it's kind of like, you know, Quantum's like MTV still exists. I'm like, I think it does still exist in something. I don't know. They may have like, I think it's just pure. Yeah, exactly. It's pure reality TV. And at this point, it might be like, you know, American Pickers from the History Channel is now over on MTV.
Can we just take a minute and actually appreciate how good it used to be when it was just music? And some of those shows were amazing.
MTV is just like surviving on the reruns of Cribs that they have. Probably.
I mean, even when shit like Cribs came later, but like Headbangers Ball, you know, at night, like other things like that, where it was like, you know, they would just play Yo MTV Rap.
Yo MTV Raps was amazing. It was some of the best TV ever.
I never saw any of that stuff.
Oh my god.
Oh, here it is. So M3 was actually the Canadian version of MTV, and it first opened in '87, which is probably when I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like you would have these things like when they would do like their New Year's Eve thing, you know, and of course, you know, I'm in high school, so it's not like I'm going out on freaking New Year's Eve or anything like that, you know. And you're sitting there, and it's like Billy Idol playing live. And you're like, yeah, this is the fucking best, man. Steve Stevens, fuck yeah.
Oh man.
The last MTV show I liked was the Claymation one.
Oh, were those the battle ones?
I forget what that was. I was reading Quantum's quote out there.
There was Claymation. It was called like Battle to the Death or something, and it was like Billy Idol meets.
Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yeah,
Deathmatch.
That was Celebrity Deathmatch. That was an amazing show.
When they did MTV Spring Break, it was like, you know, that was just warping kids' minds.
Yeah, I couldn't. My parents would like not let me watch that. Didn't it have just a bunch of bikinis and stuff?
Oh yeah, it was just drunk bastards watching, you know, somebody on stage. Or
I thought it was a little embarrassing.
Well, it probably was, but like, you know, really, even at like 14, 15 years old, you're like, oh man, this is embarrassing.
No, I think when I came back and watched it after being like 19 or something, it was.
Oh yeah, that's a little, well. See, when you were 19, then you were supposed to have been there.
Yeah, it did that.
The thing that destroyed the American youth was it like My Super Sweet 16 or whatever it was, like the ridiculously super rich kind of super spoiled kind of kids.
That came later when they began to like switch over, you know, and like, you know, My Teenage Pregnancy and that kind of shit. It's like, yeah, like when they kind of like went off into reality TV, and it's like, wait a second, I'm old enough now to know I don't want my kid to be watching this, because now they're legitimately like warping mine.
I do think Spring Break was the top of the MTV era.
Yeah, I think it was too. Because, well, number one, because they were still playing music at the time, right? But this was kind of like this special thing that they did, during that time.
It was super entertaining, pretty good music, and lots of bikinis and titties. It doesn't get much better than that. Seriously, guys.
Yeah, that was kind of the golden age of MTV. Although, it's like I look back now and like when they would have like, what was it, Kurt Loder with MTV Music News. Yes. And that was kind of the news that like the MTV generation got. I guess kind of like Reddit now or
yeah, it was actually pretty good news too.
I shouldn't say Reddit now because like the kids who are probably teenagers now like could give a shit about actual Reddit. They're like getting their news off of fucking TikTok.
But that was legitimately the music news. Like there wasn't, unless you read magazines, there wasn't any other way.
Yeah. Speaking of magazines, remember the magazines from back then? Where it was like all the different band, the music type magazines and the band magazines, and forget about the porn magazines. I know you kids don't know what a porn magazine is, but like what?
Hey! We were talking about the Donkey channel earlier, right? And that was actually invented by a guy that wrote his article about that in Playboy. Just saying. Oh. It's one of those collector's items that I would really like to get my hands on. You didn't even know that, Dirk.
Well, I didn't know that. But the magazines, I can't think of what magazines I was reading back then. Come to think of it, I think I
had to step away for a second.
I can't think of the magazines that I was reading back then. I think I was reading a lot of like Dungeons and Dragons modules or something.
What about like Spin magazine or like,
Oh, yeah.
And there you're talking about kind of like magazines, I think, that were actually like legitimately kind of music focused and whatnot, right? As opposed to sort of what was beginning to come on, which was like these teeny bopper magazines filled with, just pop music stars and.
Well, it was like
Hustler was the bad man. Well, it was basically the bad man's Playboy. Yeah, it was the Playboy without the story.
Without the stories.
way better though, dude. I remember stealing magazines as a kid. It's like you'd walk down that one aisle, pretend like you're looking at the other side of the aisle, and you're like, okay, right into the cargo shorts.
In the cargo shorts. I had friends that were these two girls played a prank on me.
Oh, and one of those pranks.
One of those pranks, and they.
She wants to kiss you. No, I'm kidding.
No, it was. They were joking with me or something, and I was. They had subscribed to Playboy for me, but I had no idea because they got my address. So my mom receives the package.
What could that have cost back then?
I know,
they
right?
did that as a gag. What were they?
Like, it's like probably like $20 for 3 magazines, and then you get billed the rest or something. I don't know. but my mom hands it to me, and it's got a paper cover on it. She goes, "This came for you." And I was like, "Okay." And I start opening it in front of her. But I figured it out before I fully opened it, and I was like, "Thanks, bye."
Oh, this is my art magazine.
Yeah.
And then my mother put me into art class, and here I am working in the art industry now. Oh yeah, totally. yeah, exactly. That was kind of spendy. No freaking question, right?
Yeah, it was. It was quite a prank. And then
those magazines were like $5-6 at the time.
It took me a while to figure out how that happened. I had no idea. So then they confessed later. And I kept the subscription. Their loss.
And nowadays, it's like, and nowadays, these kids have got porn at their fingertips. It's free. They don't even have to pay for it.
I think it's burning a hole in their brain, though. Not to be an alarmist, but
didn't have to pay. Didn't have to pay for it before. Just found it in a hedge.
It's too much baking powder, right?
Found it under your dad's mattress.
I don't know. I'm thinking that turned out pretty successful for.
Oh, A's has jumped in.
Finally, smart.
Ace.
I can add to this conversation.
Finally, my expertise. Shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been waiting for this for a while.
Well, Convict, it's like video games. With you, it's porn mags.
Yeah, porn mags.
Ace, you're somebody in the know. What's going on with the government out there? Are we?
Now we're gonna flip this switch that Commander A's is here. Have you been able to get, let's just call it CCP's equipment to the hospital?
So here's the reality of this. New York wants 30,000 ventilators. We don't have 30,000 ventilators. Now, why don't we have 30,000 ventilators? Because they're $40,000 a piece, and about this, about 4 of them are about the size of a small car. So, not really something you keep in truly massive quantities. Now, that said, let's say we did have 30,000. Everywhere else across the country needs them too. You've got different areas that are projected to peak at different times. And if we were to dump our entire stockpile into New York, we wouldn't have anything for LA. We wouldn't have anything for Louisiana. We wouldn't have anything for Washington. We wouldn't have anything for any of these other cities that are going to rapidly become hotspots.
Yeah, but didn't Trump say, like, well, if you want these supplies, you got to be nice to me?
He can say what he wants, but he's not making the decisions. He's the figurehead at the top. We got fucking task forces deciding on where shit's going.
There we go.
Also, didn't Cuomo say?
Although it is really freaking weird that we've got this dude who's just up there saying shit, and it's like, and then hopefully, right? Like I think there's a whole lot of people out there that are like, man, I hope he's just saying shit, and the apparatus of government is dealing with it the way we always thought they would, right? As opposed to dudes up there saying shit, and then the apparatus of government is like, are we supposed to do the right thing or not?
I mean, to be fair, that's basically what's going on.
He's just saying anything he wants.
He can say whatever he wants, but the reality is FEMA and HHS are the ones making the decisions on where shit's going. And from there, we're giving it to the states, and the states are trying to pick, okay, where's the field hospitals going? Where's the, where are we parking the ship? What hotels are we going to turn into hospitals? What stadiums are we going to use? What, all of that. Like, I'd like to note that this is not the large part of the event yet. And if anybody thinks that we're going to be done by Easter, they're delusional.
Hey! You don't know. You don't know.
This is the calm.
I've seen every model.
We'll let the data tell us.
Fake news.
Yeah. Unless we get a vaccine tomorrow, shit's gonna get bad for a while. And even if we got a vaccine tomorrow, it's gonna be bad for a month at least.
How bad's it gonna get?
Italy?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Italy, is it really that bad?
Jeez.
Well, I mean, just in the grand scheme of things, right? I mean, it's like, honestly, if we like walk away with this, what is honestly, swear to God, I'm asking this as a legitimate question. What is the number where people sit there and go, that wasn't as bad as what some people? Is it 10,000? Is it 100,000?
What, dead?
Yeah, I'm talking dead.
Yeah.
No,
not even in the right ballpark.
Well, no.
I'm sorry, but you're not even close to the right ballpark.
No, well, and look, I understand the
I don't want to be
projections.
alarmist, but like
I read the
3%
Matani too.
Is a huge fucking number.
I
when
read
you
the
equate it out
Matani
over a
too.
population.
Okay, I'm just saying, if 10,000, okay, within a short period of time, okay, were the thing, would people freak the fuck out? If it's not 100, my fear is this, right? If it's not 100,000, then people are going to sit there and go, well, shit. See, we didn't have to like do all that. Okay. So they're like,
I want to give a personal anecdote, actually, to be fair, real quick. But you know, I basically broke my foot at one point at New Year's, right? Throughout the whole day before actually getting checked out, I was pretty certain I'd like screwed my foot up in some way, shape, or form, right? I kind of fucked around with my with my friends, complaining about it for ages. When I finally got it checked, I was literally hoping and praying that it was actually broken, because I'd made such a fucking, been complaining about it for so long. When I did find out that I had actually broken my foot, I actually like practically fist bumped the air, right? Like I was happy. I was actually happy that I broke my foot. What I didn't realize was the fallout of having broken my foot and what that entails for the next 2 months, which was really shitty. So as much as like kind of going, well, so long as this pandemic is worth the wait, I guess, kind of in a sense of what you were saying,
it's
Dirk.
not
Like,
worth
so
the
it's not
wait.
like just a slightly better, slightly like if it's more deadly than a flu, then like it's worth all the fuss. Like that isn't really gonna like feel that good 2 months in.
No, hold on. And the point I was trying to make was with kind of what everybody, okay, in various parts of the world and some parts of the United States and things like that are kind of doing to kind of keep it tamped down, to flatten the curve, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a number that actually makes sense in people's minds out there of like what would be bad. I'm not talking about like what would be like, holy shit, are you fucking kidding me kind of stuff, because that right there like explains it itself. But
that's what Ace is trying to hint at, right?
No. And I get that.
Even here, right? We have not reached peak, and everyone is rushing to get ready for it, right? And we have managed to kind of slow things down better than most countries. America is going to be potentially ugly, and that is because it acted way too late and it's not prepared. Maybe not Italy, but very fucking close. And that means you're going to shoot way over any of the Chinese numbers. I would say maybe 3, 4, 5 times the current rates.
It's a question of severity. It's also a question of whether you go over your, healthcare system max capacity as well. Because if you do, then you're triaging and you're going to be hemorrhaging more people.
A lot more people.
Yeah.
So effectively speaking, you're looking at 3.5%. That's with 100% care. That said, that can go up or down depending on a number of circumstances. If your medical system can hold up, hey, you're probably going to hit that 3.5. You got a whole bunch of stupid people taking it and visiting old folks' homes and senior living facilities and long-term care facilities and exposing vulnerable populations, then it's going to get really bad really quickly. From there, if people don't heed the advice, social distancing is not a joke. Stay the fuck away from each other.
And that's one of the risks, right? Because there is a bit of an anti-authoritarian streak in American culture, and they might not really heed the advice, and just, especially if it starts getting ugly, they might slightly panic and go, "Okay, I'm leaving. I'm moving to the next state or to the countryside," and then you're just letting it out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then of course you got people that are going, "Oh, the town's announced that." They're closing down everything but essential business, and well, I'm gonna go a state over and live with my family. Well, okay, you might have brought it with you.
Exactly.
So there's that kind of stuff as well, and it's best best chance is everybody takes it seriously. Worst, people choose not to take it seriously, and it gets really bad. Like, there's a reason we're building field hospitals. There's a reason we're putting DoD 1,000-bed medical ships, to try and take pressure off of hospitals, and we're expecting them to be full, and still trying to figure out how to take hotels and turn them into hospitals.
Our government has now gone into the easing us into the realities. They're not telling us it's exactly how ugly it's going to get, but they're slightly hinting at, well, we might actually not be done at that date, and it might actually last this much longer. And what started out with a few weeks is now definitely, don't expect this to be over until like a few months.
Mm-hmm.
The irony of being treated for COVID-19 at Trump Towers would be.
How bad would you rate Trump's performance, A's? Or how good?
Don't ask him.
Don't ask him. That's cool.
On my part of his speech, or on
I'm going to be the person. I'm going to be the person that counts against you, because you know what? I don't want somebody out there freaking recording your shit and then like Manic Velocity putting it up on a fucking video and whatnot, and then linking you to it, right?
Oh, that's true. We don't want to cause any problem that way. But
to be fair, I'm not saying anything that I wouldn't say normally. But
that's what Fauci said.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Fauci, he says the same things. I'm giving you the CDC and the WHO numbers. The estimates are showing exactly what they're showing. New York is looking at the same estimates we're looking at, and they're saying they need 30,000 more ventilators. Well, I don't want to be that guy, but they're not the only big city. Do the math on what the rest of the big cities add up to, and we fall way short of meeting that demand.
Do you think we're going to end up fighting over resources, the states?
I think that there's not enough resources to go around.
So yes,
it's already happening with resources for hospitals, right?
Yeah, I mean,
we're going to get it as fast as we can get it, but that's the reality. Like, you can't just make N95 masks that appear faster.
If Dirk's people over here are going to spring break in Florida and partying it up, then
Dirk's people are not doing that. Dirk's people are stuck in.
They're the prodigal children, right? We're the ones paying attention and doing the right things. I'm just using you as an example.
All it takes is one person to expose a new area who's unfamiliar with the concept of social distancing, which is everywhere, and that's how an outbreak starts. One person brings it to another person. Oh, there's no cases in my county. I can still visit my grandparents.
Well, that's right. How do they
now the assisted living facilities infected?
Which is one of the concerns I have with this idea of, certain parts of the country can open back up again. Well, number one, certain parts of the country are not even closed down right now. Okay. But so I don't, all that bullshit over there aside. Okay. The president cannot order the governors to reopen their states. Okay. He cannot do that. Okay. Correct. So the shit he's talking right now, is shit. But so that kind of thing aside though, right? the big thing is like, how we close down flights and stuff like that from China. Well, granted, it was already out of China at that point, and we didn't close down flights from Italy until it was too late. We didn't close down flights from Europe until it was too late. We didn't close down because everything was too late by that point, period.
Wait, you mean following our very public pandemic influenza national strategy is not something that we followed at all?
Correct.
Literally the playbook that says, for God's sake, make sure it doesn't get here because it'll be bad if it does.
And I'm going to while I still can take a moment to sit there and say what Brisk would say. Now is not the time to cast blame. However, now is the time to fucking learn from the mistakes of the past while you're still in motion. Okay. And the thing I'm going to throw out here is when I see people sit there and go, if only China had released the info earlier, I absolutely agree. Okay. But you know what they did? You know what one doctor over there did that made it worldwide at the end of December? Went rogue and put it out there into space to where people began talking about it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I know I was talking about it in early to mid-January. I have to assume that our intelligence community and our doctors that are part of the overall kind of pandemic infrastructure like the CDC and the NIH were talking about it. I also know that there were people who weren't talking about it or who were kind of denying it or were kind of blaming the fact that other people were talking about it like on other things. We had plenty of time to get much more prepared and did not.
Right.
But
you thought it was a China remember back in January
now
when
that
I was
we
talking
have
about
gone,
it and wasn't thrilled about what I was seeing.
Yeah, well,
just saying.
And I know you were, and yes, I know the Matani was too. Okay, but I know you were okay too. Okay, the whole thing is, and then when states here actually started to go, screw this shit, we're locking down, right? What did we do during that time? And then when we locked down, did we use that time to actually? The way to flatten the curve is once you have locked people down, especially in hotspots in your own country. I hope you're using that damn time to make it so that this is not just strung out for freaking ever. There was a whole lot of talking out there, and I can tell you right now, if we were all talking about it, it was known. So look. I can blame China up to a point, but after that one point, I got to sit there and go, but then what did you do?
Mm-hmm.
Good morning from Australia.
Billy.
What's going on, mate?
How you doing, man?
Long time no chat. Sorry, I just thought I'd come on because you guys are talking shit, so.
It ain't all on. And you know what? Let me just say this to Rehad out there, okay? It ain't all knowing Dirk talking out of his butt. Like, honestly.
I fucking love you, man.
We were fucking...
You still got your fucking 20-foot coffee mug?
I actually do. Like, well, I ran out of coffee now, but, like, I got my big, giant fucking coffee mug.
Every time you're on
I'm not talking out of my ass. I just know that, you know what? We were freaking talking about it back then. And if us dumb assholes were talking...
You want to know something about that?
Who, what?
If you Google, this is fact, if you look at the Disney CEO, he was supposed to his contract was supposed to expire in 2021. He quit in December. He's still got his payout. The Uber CEO fucking ditched in January or something. Someone else, some other CEO. There's a whole bunch of corporate CEOs who still got their agreed, bonuses or whatever.
Bob Iger.
That ditched between December and February of this year.
Yeah, early.
Yeah, early. And then, surprise, surprise, the market crashed in March. But, I don't know, you get your tinfoil hats on, hey, well, what did they know? What's going on there? Because why did 25 odd CEOs of major corporate fucking companies bail a year or 2 years before their contract ended?
And I think Disney put didn't they put the cruise liner guy in charge?
Oh yeah, that is something like
I think he's the guy in charge of cruise liners.
But the CEO himself, again, he had another year and a half on his contract, and he's like December. Yeah, nah, lads, I'm going. Like out of nowhere, makes you wonder. Like,
and I do want to say the same thing I just said. Look, I don't put this all on the freaking like feet of the guy who's at the top, right? That's a completely different scenario. Okay, because one would hope that the infrastructure that you have in place and the other there in place and whatnot, also helps. And yes, other countries around the world have also fucked this up. This is exactly what gets fucked up.
Can we just take a moment, maybe a little bit less tinfoil and maybe a little bit more rage? The fact that there is obvious proven fact of people using this for insider trading and they are not yet arrested.
Hey,
what the fuck?
Hey, you cannot accuse people of insider trading unless you actually know that they had deep shorts on in late January.
Hey, no, short selling's legal, man. All the futures, everything is short sold.
This is about him and all his friends dumping all their positions because they had actual insider knowledge.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was talking. That's what like Doug was saying though. Like NSA spy agency stuff would have had intel on this months, probably back in October even. And so that's what I was adding to. Well, you've got all these CEOs and stuff who are ditching. Like they're multi-rich. They have networks connections. They're not rich. Without fucking. Sorry for swearing on your stream. They're not that powerful and rich without some sort of connect.
And you know what? And I don't want to put this, and I would not want to put this on, all of a sudden, guess what? Insiders knew that bad shit was happening, before other people did. It's like that's probably old as dirt when it comes to, who in the government knew something and what friends that they have and told them. So it's like, I certainly don't want to put that on that. It's why I don't want to get too political. We should be talking more from how the governments, not how.
But this is a guy that with government policy information, right? And he did this before that got announced. That is the best case legally ever for an insider trading case ever.
Hold on. Who are you talking about?
The guy that had full knowledge of the policies that were going to be implemented by the government.
Because of the no. Hold on a second. I'm gonna tell you right now. Okay, in January, I was continuing to drag down into. Okay, if I was, then that means he didn't have like super greater. Like honestly, if you were anybody who like even knew about this at all. In January, you were sitting there going, I don't know, this looks a little bad. I think this might, I'm gonna like, pull my risk down in my portfolio. Like, granted, if on the same goddamn day that you had a meeting, that's a little bit of a different story. But like, you're not going to get somebody on insider trading at that point because public information was out there. The analysis, on the other hand, was different.
Yeah, and I was wrong. It wasn't the guy running the what do you call it? The fleet of cruise liners for Disney. It was he's the head of the parks division. Anyway,
maybe these people got a freaking report one day and like the analysis of it was this is going to get really freaking bad, and then they went and made a trade. I'm not sure that you can actually tie that to insider trading because the information was generally public that shit was going down in China. Insider trading is a little bit of a different story. Okay. Like, even though I think ethically bad, fucking bad, super bad, like hang them outside the goddamn Capitol bad.
Oh, shit. But again, like with the insider trading, of course, that's illegal. So the best way to circumnavigate that, though, is to create a situation where a market or a share, say a stock company, will dip, even if it dips 20, 30% in one day. But, you obviously put your shorts in. You can short sell or whatever. Again, like, you're smart about stuff too. Like if you... I don't know, I'm just trying to explain this. Like, obviously insider trading, like, if you're in the company and stuff, you obviously can't legally buy and sell shares, blah, blah. But you can tell old mate and fucking give him like fucking, Sorry, swearing so much. Some
okay.
cash bills and stuff.
You're from Australia.
I'm Australian. I'm Australian. I know.
Yeah, don't worry about don't worry about swearing, you fucking cunt.
Yeah.
All right.
I was keeping the C words back, mate. I was keeping them back.
All right. Reduce the temptation.
I mean, look. I know this is. I know no one fucking watches this stream, but like, we don't want to get you banned. So.
But didn't McLeod say that it doesn't filter for things like wanker and cunt because it's not able to do English
Would
stuff?
you guys cut that out?
Yeah.
Caleb, I just want to make it clear that you do not have the accent that makes that okay.
Yes.
Meryl's like,
that's
my
true,
channel,
but,
it was so clean and nice and lovely.
What happens with a lot of Twitch stuff too, though, is it just takes some asshole to report it, and then Twitch would go and review it and be like, "Oh yeah, bad word," So that's why I try to refrain from that stuff too. I feel bad saying the F word as well, but you guys are so fucking saying it as well. So
on a serious side, right? All these types of behaviors that we are seeing right now, right? They are comparable to actual treason during a war scenario, right? So you should really clamp down on them in a similar case, whether it's trying to price gouge or hoard stuff and sell it off at ridiculous markups or insider trading and all this shenanigan. It should be completely illegal and it should have jail time incurred.
Well, what happens when the senators are doing it?
They go to fucking jail.
But that's what I was saying too. If you know about, like, especially American stock markets, the short selling, or like, it's a movie, but you watch The Big Short, about the financial crisis and the guys who made money off the banking stocks tanking. But that's exactly what they did. It's fully legal in the sense you can short sell. Morally, ethically, it's crap because because people are going to be incentivized to deliberately spread bad news, well, as Trump says, fake news, all that bullshit, to make stocks tank because there's people hedging bets for it to tank. But that's legal. That is totally fine and legal.
I do want to interject here because when I see something like a bunch of foreigners talking about how bad the USA is, bitches, please, okay?
No, it's about everywhere else. I'm just saying, yeah.
Well, hold on. We regularly talk shit about other places, so you know what? We're not going to sit here and deny them their ability to also talk shit about us. It's like, this is just normal.
You can short sell everywhere, every stock market around the world. But it's just, I guess, America, because your shares too, like I was investing for a while in American shares and making a fair bit of money because some of your like stocks will make 10, 20%, 30, sometimes even 50% in one day. Whereas with the Australian stock market, up until recently, where recently it's just a total shit fight. But on average, you'd be lucky to make 3 to 5% jump in a day in companies like even blue chip. Well, blue chips you'd be lucky to make 1% a day. But in small cap shares in Australian markets, you'd be making 5%. Sometimes if you're lucky, 10% jumps in a day. So as a day trader, sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say what actually concerns me is not these chump change trades that we have seen come out of the Senate. Okay, $1 million, $3 million.
Right now, though, you're talking about right now, though, like what the situation we're in now. Okay, yeah.
What actually concerns me is not that stuff. And I'm sorry that $1 million or $3 million for these people who we know to be millionaires. Okay, made some trades like that. I'm more concerned about the relay of information to other people. Like, honestly, I want to see a goddamn SEC investigation that is goes far and goddamn wide. Like, any one of these people that you did see, I want their goddamn phone records checked. I want their email records checked. I want to see who else they told. I want to know who the hell was told at dinner at Mar-a-Lago. I want to know all of it on both sides of the freaking aisle, because the bigger money trades that get made out there are second and third levels away from. If these people were this dumb to do it on the day that they heard something, where did it go from there?
Yeah, and just to go back, this is something that we do, or at least I do whenever I see it. I was arguing pretty much the same case when we were talking about the Brexit issues, right? Where you also had provable people having massive shorts that was investing and funding in the Brexit campaign. I would also classify this as high treason. You are deliberately speculating and manipulating the political system to your own financial advantage in a way that's even more obvious than anything else, right? This should also be a criminal offense.
Nigel,
many of these things.
Or you could.
Nigel didn't have a short on the pound. Would you relax?
No, but the friends that were funding him did.
Let me,
300 million or something.
We're out in 3 minutes, by the way.
Let me just say, putting your money where you believe the political what you believe in politically is not wrong either. So they could have been doing
That's not the same thing. You're putting your money in advance, and then you're supporting financially the outcome that you want to get that short to actually be effective. That's not just putting your money where you think the politics are going. You're deliberately manipulating the system.
Now, since we've only got a couple of minutes left, I do want to say this, okay? The one thing that hopefully most people out there are not getting off on is the tinfoil about shorts and, whether or not who made out from all this kind of stuff and whatnot. It's more about the realities of the entire situation, on a global basis and, what everybody individually is dealing with and all that kind of stuff. That is really the more important thing right now, because you know what? Whether or not these people made money won't matter to your dead grandma.
And just to close my case, it's not because I have an issue with shorts or with investment at all. When they attacked the Swedish krona, was it Buffett that did that? Deliberately trying to tank it to make a massive profit. This is legit. He's not doing anything except attacking financially with his money. This is fine. That's just capitalism and investment. But when you're doing the other things, actual morally questionable and illegal stuff, that's when I'm saying, can we please get these people in courts and actually get judged?
Yeah.
It was Soros.
I'm keen to keep talking about this off stream.
Yeah, we'll just sit there and talk off stream.
Yeah.
What is it like a midweek show or something like that?
Yeah, midweek
I don't
comes
know.
on right
I'm
now.
only on here because anyway, for reasons. But since the Eve thing, so I actually haven't been playing Eve for a while. So what the F's going on with, like, I'm getting emails about discounts on Omega and shit, and I mean, admittedly, I've been jumping on there with the free skill points and stuff. But what's going on? You guys may have covered this already because I only just came on.
We'll tell you offline.
But what? Okay. You don't want to get controversial with.
No.
Like
I just have to wrap up. Well, actually, we have 4 minutes, so go ahead if you guys want to tell.
No, just talking about Eve, because it's an Eve stream, like Eve, like.
Yeah, I remember.
So
Eve.
with everyone self-isolating, blah blah, and having to stay at home, so obviously gaming, obviously entertainment, Netflix, gaming, but gaming itself, and I've seen it when the self-isolation started that Eve, they've got that, you got the email 50% discount for Amiga for 3 months and blah blah, and I've got mates who jumped on that, even though they're just flying around low sec and high sec and.
I think all the games are booming.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about Eve specifically because we're here to talk. We're on Eve. We're Eve nerds. But what do you guys like? So with the Eve situation though, like obviously everyone's, there's always a talk. Eve's dying, blah blah blah. It's always been the same, blah blah. But there's also been a lot of changes and a lot of stuff that gets thrown out for free, like skill points and stuff like that. Are you guys still like? I mean, obviously. It might be a sort of personal question, but like, are you guys actively still playing Eve, or are you just here because of the people, like your mates you have in the community that you have, but you're not really playing Eve? Like, what's the go?
For me,
just for everyone, like.
Dude, I totally had an alt join a corp yesterday.
Yeah, but I'm asking everyone in the channel, like, just generally, like, are you guys actively playing, or are you just like? What do you guys? What's?
I haven't played it. I've been clean for 6 months, so.
Yeah, I don't actively play. I'm here for the people.
Poor A's rolled from blackout straight into Corona.
Well, he's got his 6 month pin, so let's see if he can stay with it.
Yeah, okay. So I'll make it more clear then. So are you playing Eve like 24/7 or are you doing other stuff like Netflix and playing other video games and just like Eve's just on the side?
I think we're answering you. I think we're saying that most of us do not log in a lot much anymore. We're all too much veterans to worry about free skill points or anything.
Well, okay, logging in for free skill
playing the
points is
game.
different.
Yeah. No. But I'm just saying, do you? That's what I mean. Playing the game, like actually playing the game.
I think I answered you.
Well, these are the guys that are hanging out here, but Turk plays, I play.
True.
And it's,
Yeah,
it's a completely different conversation that's going on right now, like that would have drawn in the people that kind of would have answered that or whatever.
These are not.
But
yeah, I came in late. Yeah, true.
I play every day.
We now have less than a minute, and I'm not saying that to cut this conversation off because fuck it, we'll just have it afterwards. But we're just not going to stream it. So whatever. Want to thank everybody out there who's been listening to the shit talk and all that kind of stuff for a while now. It was actually kind of like a series of interesting conversations today, which may be the longest ever talking in stations, just talking shit kind of thing.
It was. Thanks.
Quarantine in stations, people.
That's right. Thanks, Dirk, for holding it down so that I could take off and leave. And also everybody else that stuck around and came and went. Really appreciate all the dialogue from all the people for real life stuff and for game stuff.
You forgot to say, we're going to be here all summer.
No, we're not. We're only going to be here until Easter. Remember
it's
that.
over. Then we're going to see the sunlight. All right.
Don't forget the lamb's blood on your doors, guys.
Dirk. Thanks.
Passover comes first. Later, people.
Thanks, man. This kind of thing is only possible with Dirk and people like Dirk. All right.
Shut up.
It's true. It is true. And when you get kicked off your own show, it makes me upset.
Your dick. I will also suck some dick.
I like that. It's like the live version of the record.
It really is. Yeah. See, I've got it down
in concert. All right. Stay tuned, everyone, for Talking in Stations starting in 1 minute. They're going to do Veil of the Violent Part 3 in a series. So check that out in 1 minute. Take care, everyone.